quickly. Sorry.
And we're live.
Okay.
Good
All right.
Tuesday evening. Hey, Jason, how you doing?
Good man. Good. I'm trying to. There. That's what I want. Let us share out something quickly. Do you want to? Hang on. I might turn my. That's what I wanted to share out. Also, I wanted to turn off my. Hang on. I've got to do my screen brightness. Get that right. Otherwise, it'll look.
That looks familiar.
And turn the night light off. There we go. Turn the brightness up. There we go. That should look better. That should look better. There. Yeah, it does. All right. So, what do you want to start off on this, or do you want to start off on a video? Hello.
I'm sorry. Come back. Come again.
Do you want to start off on this, or do you want to start off on a video?
Let's start on this. I mean, I'm interested.
Yeah.
Are we looking at
the as well?
The pelvis there?
Yeah. Yeah, little foot. That's a pretty messed up pelvis, mate. I don't know how they can get anything from that.
Yeah.
Whoa, man! They could draw. You could. Draw
It's hard to tell exactly what we're looking at, I think.
Yeah, it does. I mean, that is. That's pretty much destroyed. Yeah. How would you know if that was human or ape? Do they know? I mean, is there any way to tell?
That's a good point. I don't know what's going on with this. It's either the pelvis or the shoulder blades. That's for sure. Oh, Missing Mod is in the chat. Hey, Missing Mod, how you doing tonight? Robin, Missing Mod. Right. Anything new this week, Jason?
Yeah, I just saw a scientist say that on Standing for Truth. I just saw him literally say this, that he believes that Tiktaalik is just a dusky flathead, because there's no evidence of any lungs. There's no evidence of any lungs at all, he said. And he said that there's more evidence that there's just gill slits there, that there's gills, and that there's actual gills. So he said it's just a dusky flathead. That's all Tiktaalik is. So I was right. He guessed the same as I did. Good to see, though. Anyway, but yeah. So that really sort of blew me away. I've got a video clip of that already.
All right.
Oh.
I'll get this out of the way.
I did stop it. Okay, good. All right, let's do this. No, not that. I mean, not a video clip I can show there, just on my phone. That's all. But all right, let's that I can show here. So let's get on with this. So this is like the pelvis or something, right? Like, how would they? Is there any way for you to make any like assumption of like any evidence there to say what it could be, ape or human? Anything? According to you?
Well, for me, I mean, I can't even tell what I'm looking at. Like I said, is that the pelvis or is that the shoulder blades? Or...
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean. It looks like it could be a pelvis.
I think it could, because you have the vertebrae there. I think those are some vertebrae.
Yeah, you got the vertebrae, and you've got the measurement down the bottom, so it's going up. So I'd say that would be the pelvis to me. I don't know. It's they've got it upside down at the shoulders, or maybe not. I don't know. Maybe that's the neck vertebrae. Who knows? I don't know. It could be the shoulder blades actually, because it's got the protrusion, large protrusion there. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? What do you think? Oh, did you drop out? Sorry, I didn't realise that you dropped out. I was too busy looking at the picture. You there? Having trouble. Hang on, are we? Yeah, I'm coming across.
No difficulties.
That's all right. Dropped out again, did it?
It did. It kicked me right out of the studio for a second, but I'm back, and I'm back with Jolene, our favorite lab tech here. So,
hello.
Hey, there you going, Jolene? Good to see you. Now,
good to see you too.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you think of this? Is it a pelvis or a shoulder blades? Because it's got that protrusion at the bottom of it, in the middle. So I don't know.
Look like much of anything.
Pelvis, though. I'd say pelvis, but I could be wrong. Who knows? I wouldn't know what I'm looking at. All I can say is that it's pretty messed up, and to try and guess whether it came from an ape or a human might be a little bit difficult.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
Yeah. So they literally could be finding human fossils in the fossil record and just putting them down as ape. Like this could be human. I'm sure they've got 100 reasons why it's not. But anyway, so what do you want to move on? See science or what? Are you there?
Sorry, I'm having some mic issues here tonight. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's just
heaps
of people jumping on.
If you scroll down a little bit on this photo, what do you see underneath this? Because I see another photo right there. That looks like, oh.
I don't know.
Now that looks like a pelvis to me, but I don't think that's the STW 573s. But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Well, of course there's no caption. Who do you think put this thing together? There we go.
Remains.
All right.
Yeah.
So above was the pelvis. The pelvis.
And look how broken up it is.
I
mean, that's pretty broken up.
But that right there, that looks like a shoulder blade. Or what is it? Clavicle. Not a clavicle.
Yeah, well, it says.
Oh, yeah, clavicle.
Hang on. It says STW573 pelvic remains top. The Robertson 1972 reconstruction of the pelvis of the STW431 bottom archived photograph. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, there you have it. So that's not even a pelvis there. Hang on. Let me go back.
No, it says pelvic remains. STW573 pelvic remains is at the top, right? That's A at the top. And then it says reconstruction of the pelvis of STW431 at the bottom. So at the top here, that is the pelvic remains, and it looks pretty broken up to me. It looks like they had to be reconstructed like pretty heavily from. It's almost like they got lots of different broken bones. Look at all the different colors in the bones. It's from different areas. You know what I mean? It's
man. It looks like it's all been pieced together there, glued
from just
together.
little bits of bone. They've just found little bits of bone all over the place, different colors and different areas, digging through the rock and just piecing it together to make a freaking. Oh man, that's bad. That looks like exactly what it is. It looks like they've just got bits of bone from all different places and like fossilized bone.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
put it all together.
I've got this photo
Added
here
it
to
in.
bring up. So this is SCW
Well,
431. So it says that we're looking
you-
at the one that's kind of gray in the center there, but it'd be an assembled pelvis of that. And I guess you can see the partial
but
sacrum.
You talk about conglomerations. That's a conglomeration right there. That pelvis is just in itself is just bits and pieces of all other bones, and God knows what bits of bone is in there. There could be arm bones and leg bones and freaking bits of all sorts of bone in there. Yeah, they wouldn't know that all came. They can't do DNA test on that, or they can't tell. Anyway, so yeah, that's gone. Sorry, it's just funny. I think.
Yeah, it's you can tell that there's reasons why we can't really get a good
That's gone. Oh, I'm playing back.
That's all right,
playing
Joel.
back. You can hear the feedback.
Got a little echo in the studio here. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right, so up above that clavicle, I think it's a clavicle. I don't know. Yeah, you see that pelvis?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's
so that pelvis actually belongs to SCW 431, which is the one that's highlighted in gray.
No,
so,
the one.
Okay, so then then the top one would be the
one
pelvis.
Top, no, the one at the top
foot.
is for is for 573. Number A, it says on the description, because you probably can't read it because it's too small. It says STW 573 pelvic remains top. And then after that, it says the Robertson 1972 reconstruction of the pelvis of STW 431 bottom. Right. So that A, yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, so that's definitely what we have here then. Is
I don't know
that
if it
top
means the
photo
top of the doc or the top of this photo? Does it mean the top of this doc? Does that mean that? And then this is the reconstruction. I think that's what it might mean. Top of doc, not top of this photo. That's where I'm going wrong, I think.
So that very first photo is basically a blown up shot of the pelvis of the STW 573 here. And I guess you can sort of see it, and you can see where the actual vertebrae are there too, kind of going through it. But when you're looking at this pelvis, it's probably like, compared to the other pelvises here that are pretty all smashed up, I mean, like there's a lot of pieces, but it doesn't look like they're whole. It looks like they're all mangled and, like you can't really tell much from it.
Like and most of it looks like it comes from pretty much the same rock pile, or it's just a reconstruction plaster cast. I don't know if they've got the color the same, but yeah, that's if that is all the one color like that, the way they found it, if that's the actual fossil itself and not a reconstruction, then that all came from the same rock layer. Whereas this one did not all come from the same rock layer. Well, it's different colored rocks in the same rock layer anyway, from different areas. That's for sure. Yeah. So you're saying this about this pelvis?
Yeah, I'd believe that they found that all in one piece, kind of fused there in the flowstone member that they pulled Littlefoot out of. Yeah.
Yeah.
But can we tell anything really from it other than, I mean, you've got some vertebrae, and then that, I guess that would be the ilia or the pelvic wing.
Yep.
It was pretty misshapen. I mean, it looks pretty human just looking at the left side. if that is the ilia or ilium. But let me no, because I'll show you here. Because we have some photos we can compare it to. Would be like that shape, ilium, you know. So you have that pelvic wing going on.
Yeah.
And I think I see, with my imagination, if I look hard enough, almost the same shape there. But, you know, who can really say?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because it's supposed to come around and touch in the middle. Yeah.
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 But that's
Oh,
how it is with the
okay.
little foot. You know, I mean, there's some shots of the remains, but it's not the greatest. And it's few and far between to get like shots of the entire specimen from all sides.
Yeah.
Ooh, we got some questions in the chat though. I think I have a different attachment to Claude. It looks like a whole pelvis. No, it's not. That's not a whole pelvis. No way. It's a
Pectoral girdle. STW573 Littlefoot and its implications for shoulder evolution in the hominid. Oh, shoulder evolution. I can't believe they say this stuff. It's ridiculous. They're getting a bone out of the ground that's in hundreds, if not millions, of tons of mud on top of it, deforming it and pushing it in all weird shapes and breaking it up, and you know, and then they say that they can just say anything they want out of that. They can just say, "Oh, look, it evolved this way or that way, any way they want," because the thing's so mangled. And things when they usually get them are so deformed that they're beyond, you know, making a 100% determination, so they can just make up anything, which is basically the way I see it. Looks like that to me right here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the whole thing. You know, they just run with their narrative.
Shoulder evolution. How did shoulders evolve? That's what I want to know.
So here we have Robin asking, tell me what way do we not fit into the ape family? What is a trait of apes that we are missing? Well, let's see. There's some muscles in apes. The whole thing is that apes have a completely different skeletal system than humans do to begin with. For instance, like their skull is, well, their jaws are more elongated, kind of like a dog's, where ours are shorter, and our face is flat, where, you know, the apes is kind of longer. And I'd say they're about as different from us from any other mammal. I mean, you list the same thing. We have hair, they have fur.
Yeah.
I don't know if
well, also that you find similar structures in whales and stuff, you know, in whale flippers and so on. So, I mean, that just means a common creator. If God made everything completely different and back to front for every single animal, they would just claim that was proof of evolution. Oh, because everything's so different, it has to be evolution. A common creator would have used similar structures. He wouldn't have made everything completely different. So it wouldn't matter what it was. They would just claim it's 100% evidence of evolution. It's just evidence, just as much evidence as a common creator, as a common ancestry. You know? Anyway.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I would say, you know, like the immune system's different as well. So we have immunities to things that they don't. Let's see, skeletal system, like I said.
Their nervous system is so different as well.
Their nervous system, yeah. There you go, Julian.
Their genome is 10% bigger than ours, so that blows the 99.8% similarity away right there. We don't have to get into anything else.
Sure,
there it is, right there.
So there you go. What do we have? What do how do we not fit into the ape family? Well, they have 2 more chromosomes than we do. So
Yeah, 10% bigger. It's about 8 to 10% bigger. Well, so if a genome's 8 to 10% bigger than our genome, how's it 99.8% similar? Doesn't make sense, does it? Sort of pseudo-scientific claptrap sounds like.
it is, yeah. It's just something that they've repeated over and over again, and they assume it's true. I mean, when you realize that the differences in chromosomal data is greater than 98% to begin with, then humans and chimpanzees or humans and apes cannot share a 98% likeness. So, as far as things that, wait, what was the question? What do we not fit into the ape family? What was a trait of apes that we are missing? So yeah, that would be the 48 chromosomes. That's one thing. I know one thing that we have that the apes do not have, and that would be a chin. We have
Very
chins.
true.
We're very chinny. We have a chinny kind of animal.
Well, Aboriginal people have generally got Australian Aboriginals, that is, have generally got a very weak chin. I got hundreds of photos proving that, by the way.
their chin, missing their chin.
Yeah. Well, they have. They've got a very Aboriginal people in Australia have got a very weak chin. It's like they say Neanderthals have got a weak chin, so they're far back. Well, there's people alive today that generally have it. I've got like so many photos, it's beyond question. You know what I mean? It's like so many of like full blood Aboriginal people from really old photos from a long time ago. Have real full blood.
Sure,
people,
and I mean, there's a
mixed.
difference. Like there's a difference between having a weak chin and then having no chin at all.
Yeah.
So like like even this guy, this guy has a pretty strong chin. Hey Alex, how you doing tonight? Good to see you in the chat. And big old babies in the chat. P-Town's in the chat. But here you have a good example of how chimpanzees, they don't have a chin, and humans do. So even if humans have a really weak chin, they still got more of a chin than that chimp does.
So they'll have more trouble putting glasses on too. Glasses will keep slipping down their face. They'll need suction. They'll need suction cups. Yeah, I would say. Anyway.
Oh. Hang on. I think we are misunderstanding our assignment. Let's see. There's a set of criteria that specifically makes an animal fit into the ape family. What trait of the ape family do we not share? Well, do chimps sing and write and build spaceships and use mathematics? And there's quite a few differences. I mean, I think there's a few differences that we should let you know about.
Yeah, I mean, like there has been chimps that have been taught sign language and stuff to be able to talk, but I mean, there's a lot of things that chimps cannot do that humans can.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like, when you look at that, I mean, here you have something where the brain capacity is very different as well. And I mean, you could put out a bunch of general traits for, say, a squirrel, and be like, what do we have that a squirrel doesn't have? And it turns out a squirrel probably has more anatomy with their tails and their floppy ears. Do they have floppy squirrels? They're kind of pointy, I guess.
Squirrels have pointy ears.
Yeah, they're pointy.
Dude.
But you know what I mean. But anyway, so like they've got
Get your animals right,
what do squirrels have that we don't have? Wait, what is the question?
What is
the trait in the ape family do we not share? Yeah, like what do squirrels have that we don't have? It's kind of the same thing.
Pointless. It's like we've got squirrels have hands.
I know what I'm saying.
Do squirrels have Do squirrels have 5 toes or 4? If they
Oh,
got
they got
5,
five.
well,
They got
that's
They got
like
they
a
got
five.
little
human hand.
hands.
They got little hands.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you
I
go.
used to
There's the
have
human
squirrels.
hand. So it must be evolution.
Squirrels definitely
Has to
got
be.
five toes. They got little hands.
They do. It's true.
And the photo behind this one shows what pressure does to things when it's on top of that photo. I mean, that's exactly what you'd see if what you'd expect to see. Like this jaw at the bottom, they've reconstructed this. But also, you got to remember that if there's a lot of weight on this jaw, say it's under thousands of tons or hundreds of tons or thousands of tons or millions of tons of mud up on top of it, it's going to deform it, right? So I don't see a problem with this jaw. At the bottom, this could just be deformation, and then they've reconstructed it and obviously put, like you said, at the base of the jaw, they've put araldite or something like that, and then maybe bog spacky filler, that they use on cars, car bog, and then sanded it because it's got a really flat bottom on it when you look underneath it. So it's obviously not the original fossil, but if it was the original fossil, I still don't see a problem with this because pressure could deform the jaw out like that. As far as
Sure.
I'm concerned.
Yeah, and when you look at the dental arcade and it looks so much alike just from a straight view, and
Yeah.
the side view is even more revealing as far as like what species we're looking at here of ape. So, I mean, that's a dead match, and you got to realize like this is two different gorillas, like so they're going to be slightly different anyway, but only as much as would be human to human.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But even with that,
Yeah.
you can see that the jaws are the same exact shape.
Yes.
So that's pretty impressive. Now, the fact that the head is caved in there and misshapen, that kind of explains
Yeah.
head-on view here, like you were looking at in that article. So you can actually see where the brow ridge has been pressed down and into the skull. So there's a lot of damage, as Jason has pointed out. When you look at the teeth, it's pretty awesome because it's just they're so boxy, and it's so obviously a gorilla. So, but like he said, the jaw, the lower
and the
jaw,
jaw
is wider,
Yeah.
and it doesn't fit into the sockets like it should. So
Yeah.
you got to know, like,
formed.
it's been adjusted, or it was
It's just been
broken when it
deformed.
was removed from the skull itself. When they actually went to remove the mandible from the skull.
Yeah.
Here you have a photo.
Well, not just that. It's also the deformation as well. Like you can see the skull's all leaning to one side. So there's been pressure on it, and if it pushes down on it or against it, the bottom jaw, to splay the jaw out and deform it. And then they've taken it out and then, added to that on top of that. Like accentuated it. Because like you said, the jaw doesn't fit in to the bottom jaw. So they took it out and it fit originally, and then when they put it back it doesn't fit, right?
Right.
That
That's
what
what
you
it
said?
seems to be.
Yeah.
And I can't, for the life of me, I cannot get a good shot of the maxillary arcade, which would be underneath that mandible after they removed it from the skull, to see what the teeth look like underneath there, So I don't know what they're hiding unless it's a gorilla.
Well, they're outright hiding stuff. I saw Dr. Carl Werner say himself that he's got evidence of it, that they're hiding stuff like that. So just literally
do we
don't
have a
let
video
public.
of that guy, or?
Oh yeah, it's on Standing for Truth if you want to watch it. So it's up to you.
Oh yeah, here real quick. Robin wanted to add, we don't share family with squirrels, man. This is like talking to 2-year-olds. Yeah, but my question, it wasn't like if we're in the same family as squirrels, man. I was just asking, what do squirrels have that we don't?
I think
Right?
I
Because I
think
mean,
we're
that's
like
the question
90.
with you from chimpanzees. So
I think we're 98% similar to mice. I think there's
yeah,
something like that. I was looking at some massive, and dogs. We're very close to dogs as well. I mean, there's these huge similarities everywhere, and just the fact is, you got to ask yourself, why are they saying that a genome that's 10% bigger is 99.8% similar? It's just not. It doesn't make sense. And then they say they compare regions. They're not comparing regions. They're just throwing away any region that doesn't match up.
like a beetle.
Well, they just discard it. They just discard region, like they just discard stuff. Like they'll set their computer model to only search out for things that have a 98% to 99.8% similarity, and discard all the rest. So they literally do just cherry pick things, and then discard other parts of the genome, and then put it all together and say that it's 99.8% similar, when you just know in your heart that it's not. When it's 10% bigger, it just can't be 99.8% similar. The regions are not that similar. They're spread apart, far apart. And if you do find similarities in a region, it's like I said before, if a similarity in a region is evidence of evolution or common ancestry, then it's just as much evidence for a common creator, because why would he redesign every single creature with a completely different body structure? If God did that, then the evolutionists would just be running around saying 100%, but they'd be running around saying how that's proof of evolution, that everything's completely different. Wouldn't matter what it was. Wouldn't matter which way God did it. Wouldn't matter what he did, that they'd be claiming that it was evidence of their religion. As simple as that. And there's no evidence. But anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, and just to reinforce the point of that loaded question, which was, which trait? Here we go. All right. So, what trait of the ape family do we not share? It'd be like saying, which trait of the squirrel family do we not share? I mean, they've got more anatomy than we do, so technically they have everything that we have in so many ways. It's just set up differently, just like the apes, like their skeletal system is just as different from ours as to the squirrels. So
look at this. Look at this. He found 4 bones and 4 fragments of bone, basically, and then from 4 fragments of bone, he's made up of, like, that's.
yeah. So Littlefoot's foot wasn't even found with Littlefoot.
Yeah, and the bone itself could be human, and they won't let people see the original bones mostly, and most of these things. So you can't see what the original find was like. What they were really honest. What they do is they document all the photos for every single bone they make public, how they found it, the photo of how it was first found in the rock, then a photo after it was just taken out, and photos of, like, maybe 10 steps of every single fossil, and put that out there with it. But they won't do that, because if they did that, then they could be picked apart a lot easier. So they hide stuff, and they do. It's as simple as that. And they got 4 bone fragments here, and they're putting these bone fragments together and making up a big story about an 8 foot out of it, when it could be human bones. It could be bones from anything. Anyway.
Yeah, they basically they try to claim that the Littlefoot fossil collection was found completely articulated, or even all in the same spot, in the same rock flow member, this flowstone layer in the Serpentine cave system, when it's known that the foot itself was found apart from skeleton, and so was, the legs were found at a lower level than the torso, or the trunk body, basically, and the skull. So you have a situation where the remains were actually found apart from each other and not together. So it's assumed that they all belong together. It's not a case where they found Littlefoot in one single area. So, or one single, where you would expect to find something, like if they were buried in a cave, all within the same 6 feet, basically. Maybe it got dragged down a little ways, but it'd all be in the same room.
Yeah.
Not picked up all over the cave system. So.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's just, and you can see from reconstructions of the pelvis, ilia, on that thing, that was crazy. That was just bits and pieces from all different coloured rocks and everything, just all put together, little fragments of bone. It could be bone from anything, any part of the body, and they've just added these fragments in just to make up the rest of it, so they can make up a story. That was anybody that can't see that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I mean, it looked like I could make a better pelvis out of cardboard pieces if I just glued them together, and it looked more like a pelvis than that thing did. So
very true.
As far as like the sacrum, like I've said in the past with Lucy, you've got almost a full sacrum to compare to other animals' sacrums and human sacrum, say. Try and figure out exactly what we've got here. If it really is this mythical creature called Australopithecine or not, at least you have something to compare to other modern pieces of animals. So with the Littlefoot, it's so badly mangled and deteriorated from the flow of water through the cave system and just pressure and time, the fossilization process, that you can't really tell what you're looking at. So it's not really a great example, if anything. Although it may be more complete, it's certainly less, you're not able to gain accurate measurements of what it would have been in the living individual. So it's all guesswork at that point. So here we have another question from Robin.
So, Robin, with your question about what traits do apes and humans not share, again, people have a much more complex form of verbal communication than any other primate species. We are the only, if you want to call us animals, to create and use symbols as means of communication. Yes, other animals will mimic it, but they do not actually create it themselves normally.
So, and
They
that
don't
and
have
dancing. Like there's birds that do motions, and they kind of try and claim that that's dancing, but it's not like the dancing that we have. And they're certainly not building computers and flying.
Also, superior motor control, less body, hair, far more advanced brain.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The cranial capacity of humankind is far more than any chimpanzee. I mean, even gorillas, I think they have a larger cranial capacity than the chimpanzee does.
We have more intricate nerve connection in the human brain, as well as something called spindle neurons that apes do not have.
Now, Robin says there's a pad of cartilage, meniscus, between the ulna and the carpal bones in the wrist that gives the wrists great strength, probably, right?
Yeah.
And, well, they have... they've got better muscles and stuff for tree climbing and arms,
Well, and then quadruple locomotion, moving with both legs and hands, is common in the apes, whereas bipedal locomotion, moving with the help of only 2 legs is common in humans.
Mhm. And that's a great point too, Jolene, because when an ape runs, it goes down on all fours because it's actually quadruped. In fact, the foramen magnum, which is the hole in the bottom of the skull through which the spinal cord or spinal column passes through, is in a quadrupedal position, kind of like a dog on the apes, whereas in humans, it's in a completely different position. So that's another trait, is that humans are built for walking bipedally, whereas apes, although they can go for short times on their back legs, they are quadrupedal animals. So it would be like if they went on their back legs, they would always be looking more up than they should be. That's the way that the
Yeah.
skulls. So.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot of traits
Well,
that are different. So
it's getting back to that one. That one just there's no evidence there at all. Anybody that uses that as evidence for the human to ape evolution is just telling adult fairy tale stories.
yeah, like
Maybe.
where's the transition?
Well, also, oh, hold on 1 second. We also have less prominent brow ridges, and our facial skeletons have more topography compared to supposedly our closest living relative, the chimpanzee.
Yeah. What's going on?
Our faces are more retracted and integrated within the skull rather than being sort of pushed out in front of it, like you see
Right.
in the pictures that Mark is just pulling up.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, ours is flat. Like our face is flat all the way down. Theirs is
And theirs is pushed out.
They say prognathism or whatever, where it's the jutting out of the front teeth. But it's more than that. You know, like it's so much more than that. Like they have dog jaws rather than a human jaw, it almost seems like. The angle of the mandible is completely different. You can look at the anatomy of a mandible here. Well, let's see. But yeah, I mean, it's like the angle of the mandible, which is the corner, is a completely different angle between humans and chimps, and even gorilla for that matter. See, it's almost less than a right angle, less than 90 degrees.
Here's proof that they picked bits and pieces of it from all over the cave system, not just from one spot. Here's this peculiar hang on, of bovids prompted me to look through some boxes of fossils that were in the Skekfontein field laboratory, which had resulted from the earlier processing of the lime miners' dumps. So there you go. They were going through the tailings, mine tailings, and picking up little bits of bone by Hughes and his skeleton. Yeah, so there it is. And look at the bottom here. It basically says that he's looking through boxes of stuff that they'd gone through, the tailings that the miners had left, and all these bits and pieces. The miners left big piles of heels of stuff and put it all into big boxes. And then he went through the boxes later looking for bits to match up. Anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, like, you know, a lot of people don't realize that the discovery was partially made in the museum there, or the medical school, the anatomy department of the medical school. So
Funny.
I just like, and you know, when they made that discovery, he held it up and he says, "Look at it, such a little foot," you know, and he thought that'd be a good name for it. I don't know if, you know, what we could do is we could watch the video of Clark, so people could get a little bit more familiar with the discoverer of this thing. Would you want to? I'll go get it.
Yeah, put it on. Put it in the private chat so I can click on it.
All right, I'll be right back.
Okay. Yeah, it's it's just amazing that they go through this. They go through this cave system. No, they haven't even gone through the cave system. Most of it they just got from mine tailings, bits and pieces, hills of broken rocks and things. And that's that pelvis that you saw that was reconstructed with all different coloured rocks in it. Well, that was just bits of bone. They don't even know that those most of those little fragments of bone in that pelvic ilium and that pelvic blade, they don't know, or whatever it was. It's just you could tell that it was comes from different rocks in different parts of the cave. It was all different colours, and it was just little fragments of bone. And they couldn't possibly know that those bits of bone came from a shoulder blade. It could have come from those little tiny bits of broken fragments could have come from a leg bones or any bone anywhere, and just be flattened out and crushed, and they're just finding all these deformed bits of little fragments of bone and sticking it all together to make up the shape of a and this is, if you can't find a missing link, just make one up like that. That's how you do it. I'm surprised they haven't claimed that they've discovered the missing link and it's all over and done with. They may as well. Most of the people would just accept it if they did. It's crazy. I know I would have. Anyway, let me have a look here. The imagination time. If you look at a human foot bones, you'll see that it's actually quite hard to tell with the opposable on the big toe, whether it's an opposable big toe or not. It's actually quite difficult to tell. If you look at an 8 foot and a human foot together, like what I mean is fossils of apes and so-called ape feet, and then fossils of human feet, and then fossils of real ape feet, and fossils of human feet. Well, the human feet that are supposed to, the ape feet that are supposed to be, like the apes look like humans to me. There's one in particular that I've got in a dock that just looks like a human foot bone altogether, and they called it Homo habilis or something. It just didn't look anything like what they said it was supposed to look like. When I compared the other bones, foot bones, to each other, you could just make up any story, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that really small foot that was like a baby's foot or something? Yeah. So that's weird. And they're like trying to point out differences in this tiny foot, this tiny human foot, compared to a normal, like young child's foot.
Yeah.
And they're trying to make this comparison because they're trying to say that this Afarensis or Australopithecine foot should be about the size of a baby's foot, like a baby.
This could be from a human. This one thing here could be from a human. It's like I said, deformed under pressure in the fossilization process. It gets deformed with the pressures on it from all different directions, all sorts of pressures, in weird pressures. Mate, that thing could be very well be fully human, and they're just making up this story about the opposable big toe, and they they get a slight deformation in it, which points towards they'll just run with that. Look, that looks like it could be deformation, but we'll just run with it and say that it was an opposable big toe and it was sticking out like this, and those idiots will believe it. They won't even bother to look into it or look what a human foot looks like, or they won't know about fossils can be deformed under pressure, or often are deformed under pressure. Not can be, almost 99.999% of the time they're deformed. Anyway. Very rare you find a fossil bone
also
that's
mention
just fully intact.
In between there is going back to the traits between chimps and humans. Jolene pointed out in the break here that our brains are 3 times bigger than a chimpanzee's in general. Like usually they're like 450 to 500 cc's capacity, where we're more like 12 to 1500. So there's a huge
Yeah.
difference between humans and apes.
There's the humans use about 20% of all your energy in your body is used up by your brain. And that's incredible. I mean, chimps have small brains because basically, they don't need it in a way. And second of all, it's just crazy to try and say that that this thing evolved from a chimp to a human. When you look at the waiting times for fixed mutations, just so long, much longer than the age of the known universe, just for a few fixed mutations. So, well, I don't know how it's supposed to have evolved in just a few million years from an ape-looking creature to a human. When we look at the genomes, the mutation rates today and fixed mutations and things that we can glean from today, we see that the waiting times are just so massive. They just have to change a whole lot of stuff around in the past and say the past was different. We can't prove it. We haven't got a time machine, but we're just saying the past was different. And most will just swallow it.
I also want to say hi to Devin Phoenix in the chat. There's Devin. Good to see you, man. Good to see you.
Hey, Devin.
I did throw the video of Clark here talking into the private chat for you there, Jason. So
yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I was waiting for that.
And he just kind of, it's just him describing his discovery, supposedly how he found it, and what it means to paleoanthropology according to the discoverer himself. Now, there's a bit of a discussion, like we said, how mangled these remains are, how deteriorated they are. A lot of people can't tell anything from them, to the point where the actual species is contested among paleoanthropologists of what this actually is. So the founders discovered it, noticed differences in the skull, mainly, and mainly in the skull, the differences in the skull. And then they knew that this was a new species of Australopithecine because it was so gorilla-like. Okay. Instead of chimpanzee-like, which is what the Afarensis and the Africanus is supposed to look like. So it's just interesting to hear his point of view. So
okay, here we go. Hang on.
And from beyond the grave, because Clark's long past now.
Okay, this video from the Sea Science Film Labs. Here we go. All right.
Something about Littlefoot. She is a lady. She is a lady. We know that from the anatomy of her pelvis, but also of the area of the face, the dentition, the canine, and the size of teeth are smaller than those of males that we have of this species, Australopithecus prometheus. In stature, she was probably about 1.30 meters high. We can't tell the exact stature until
1.35 meters. We can't tell the exact stature until what? Hang on. We'll just hear.
we've done more work on the vertebrae. Notice that.
Oh yeah, until they've done more work fudging the vertebrae. I'm just translating for the guy here. I just translate for the evolutionists. When we've done more work and worked out how we can sort of fudge the vertebrae so we can, make it a bit shorter or taller or whatever the evolutionary fable dictates.
Sure. Yeah, they've laid broken bones down next to each other and guessed the height of this thing. So
yeah.
We don't even know if all these remains are from the same individual, but we're going to guess the height of its species.
We're going to guess that it's not, right? I mean, we're going to guess that it come from buckets and buckets of, garbage that have been collected up over, the past decade, and they're rifling through it. Quick, we need another find. We're losing the interest of all the other evolutionists out there. We're losing people. Quick, we need to make another find. and then they dig through the boxes and find, oh, we'll put that with that, we'll put that with that, we'll put that over there and that with that. Oh yeah, look, we can say that's Homo distractus. Homo distractus, and the stupid idiots won't even realise when we call it
Oh,
distractus.
that's
They won't even
gold.
realise what. Yeah, yeah. And then they'll all sitting back
No, that
laughing,
was the
going,
Naletti, man.
ah.
You know,
And it,
that was the
Sorry,
Naletti
anyway.
coming out with who was that? Not Clark, but his friend. Not Tobias, but I forgot his name.
or whatever. The other guy, the Lee Berger.
Berger, yeah, Lee Berger, man. All these guys
Yeah.
were involved in Sturkfontein cave system where this Littlefoot discovery was made.
Oh no, he was involved in the Homo naledi thing, and there was so much corruption of the materials that there's no way that they could actually conclusively prove that those bones came from that cave. Not really. Like he basically infected it, ruined it. And then this is the same guy. Oh man, they're just rifling through. What they're doing
Oh,
is,
yeah.
this is what I reckon.
Lee Berger was
I reckon-
heavily involved in the discovery of Littlefoot as well.
Ah,
And now he's
well, there
being
you go, mate.
questioned.
They're just getting boxes of bones. They're going on the sides of whole mountainsides and just rifling through freaking massive areas, getting all bones,
Yeah.
chucking them into massive boxes, taking them back to the museums and sitting there piecing stuff together to make up a story. That's all they're
That's
doing,
what
man.
it seems like.
So pathetic that people believe this.
You have Lee Berger getting charged by the paleoanthropological community of playing loose and fast with the truth, of coming out with these discoveries at such a fast rate that's making people's heads spin, and it's making the paleoanthropological community kind of irritated because usually it takes, years for them to first make the discovery, then come out, write the papers for it and everything, But with AI and Lee Berger's taking
I know
all
what it
these
is.
shortcuts with his work,
I know what it is. Fast
he's
food
producing
discoveries.
things in like a year.
Yeah, it's fast food discoveries. It's the new paleontology thing. It's called fast paleontology. and all the paleontologists want to go back to slow paleontology because it's better for the science. But Lee Berger keeps dragging it into fast food paleontology. Anyway,
Fast tracking those scientific discoveries, without crossing your T's and dotting your I's. And
it's making paleontology unhealthy.
Homo distractus. I love that.
Yeah,
I love it.
that's what I'm going to call it. I'm going to get my hands on if I ever get a lot of money, I'm going to buy heaps of boxes of bones and put my own thing together and call it, and that's what its name's going to be. I've already made up the name, Homo distractus. And I'm going to become an evolutionist and write a paper on it and make millions.
Y'all.
There you go. Thanks, son.
All right.
No,
So
we should throw a bunch of bones into a box and send it to the American Museum of Natural History and say that we've discovered,
Like I said, you can have mine when you go out.
We'll put in some chicken bones, some pig bones in there,
No,
I can get you the chicken
we just get 10 boxes of fossil fragments of just random fossil fragments and send it to them and say, we haven't put it together yet, but we thought we'd leave that up to you. But we just discovered this new creature, hominid. It's called Homo distractus.
Hey,
and you guys,
we got woods. I'm sure we can even find like some maybe even bear bones if we go out in the woods.
There you go.
Get some deer bones. My sister's got some deer bones.
Those are good thick bones. They'll look like human femurs and stuff. And they'll just be slightly different size. And
we can get some squirrel bones and some raccoon bones.
And don't forget the super glue.
Hey, we can always dig up the. Oh, we won't go there. Because we can always dig up the kitty cat that got buried out back.
Well, they're saying that the guy that Donald Johansson might have been a grave robber, or might have charged.
I have heard
robbing graves in South Africa or something. So
yeah, What graves did he rob? Native people's graves, or are they just talking about how he's digging up bones from the ground?
I think that
Which
there were
one?
actually like graveyards of tribes.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So
well.
and what happened was he didn't get the permission from the local government to go digging around yet.
Oh, that's really
So
bad.
yeah,
Surprised
when
he
they
didn't get
caught
chucked
him,
in
I think
prison.
he had to pay a few fines. So
Yeah, a few bribes, in other words.
yeah.
We all know how those countries work. Hey, look,
Yeah,
you know
his
how you
40
know
grand
I'm
came
telling the
up
truth?
short.
Do you know how you know I'm telling the truth about that? Go and try and send something on eBay to a friend in that part of the world and see what
Yeah.
they tell you. See what eBay says. Big red alert comes up. No, get spent. We're not sending it there. eBay says. Anyway,
Uh,
Jason's just being a racist, but eBay won't send it there. But I'm just being a white supremacist. Yeah, that's it. That's it. I've just set the algorithms off. We'll have freaking all the YouTube moderators descending on this video, picking over it. I said the word. I
man.
said the WS word. Uh-oh.
Well, Genesis Baptist Church, they got another strike or whatever. And it was right during
My
their
missus
boot
was
camp week.
a black white supremacist. Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, she was like Deuce Bigelow. What's that one? That what's his name? That no, not that. That's that movie, Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo. I was thinking of. That's pretty telling, isn't it? Bloody terrible thought. No,
Oh my
was it?
God.
What's it called? I can't remember. I lost it. I lost track.
Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo.
Yeah, dude,
Yes.
big old mate, old Gigolo.
What the
Yeah,
hell is
remember
it?
that movie?
Nations in that. I don't even.
I can't remember.
I can't remember.
And he doesn't want to sleep with them, so he counsels them instead. That'd be me.
I just remember that one that says steak, or she's like, "Did you free?" I don't know, something about steak, but it was memorable. That movie was screwed up, man.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Most movies are. You know what I noticed about movies today is that the problem is that every single series I watch from way back there for a long time ago, about the last time I ever saw where they made the Christian, and even they made him look like a bit of a doofus, was MASH, where they made the Christian Father McCahey look like sort of like an upstanding citizen, who's caring and loving. But these days, ever since then, every series you watch, they always make the Christians out to be the dangerous nut jobs. It's any wonder most people hate Christianity out there. They're just being brainwashed slowly. The dangerous nut jobs are going to bring everything undone. You know what I mean? Whereas the women and the LGBT people are the ones, the saviors of humanity and saving us from these silly, ignorant, rock ape Christians.
Yeah, all I can think of is the movie Contact, where they build that machine or whatever, and then that one group tries to blow it up.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, a little bit.
That's a good movie.
Oh, you're talking about the what's his name? The what's that the one that tried to blow up King James?
Oh, I don't
What
know.
was his name again? I can't remember his name. But they made a movie about him, and they made him out to be like some sort of hero. That's interesting. They talk about that guy that tried to blow up King James as some sort of hero. But what they don't realize is the reason why they want to blow him up is because when he gave the Bible to people, he diminished the government's power and basically the monarchy's power, because in the Bible it has limits on what the kings can and can't own, right? And it gives people land rights, proper land rights with courts and stuff like that. That was a foreign concept in King James Day, to have, like, they were basically the king could do anything he wanted with your land if he wanted to. Back in his day, you were just like a serf. You were just virtually nothing more than property of the king. And the Bible literally diminished his power by giving the Bible in plain English to people so the average person could read it. It actually diminished his power. And you've got all these atheists running around saying about how, oh, he only did it to gain more power. Well, it's just totally not true. He went the total opposite way. He had all this power, and then people are reading the Bible going, hang on a second. The kings of Israel, King David, God's favorite, had to follow rules, and people had land rights and stuff. Why haven't we got land rights? You know what I mean? That's
Sure.
what the Bible would have done, mate. Not. So atheists, you got it all wrong.
Well, I feel like that's the reason they're doing their best to get it removed from our society, or at least the schools, like pointing out all these things that happen in the Bible that were pretty negative, and they're trying to call it some kind of basically pornography that shouldn't even be in schools.
Yeah.
And it's a book that makes it so that you'll never want to be a slave. So like it's a book about how a whole group of slaves overthrew and left a nation that was trying to make them slaves. And when you have a book like that, the people reading it, it's hard to get them to become slaves and be happy as slaves. So like when you have a book like that, if you can't get rid of it, then you'll always have a society that won't be like slaves. So I think like when you have the state trying to push everyone and control everyone, get us to jump through hoops with this coronavirus scare and basically just control every aspect of our lives. It doesn't help to have a book that tells you to go sock it to the man. You're not supposed to be a slave. You're supposed to be free. You have certain rights, God-given rights. And, so society, for a good working society, they want their people to basically be slaves. And it's never going to happen with the Bible around, is how I see it. So. Well, you're right. Like, when he published it, it took his power a little bit.
Basically, the government wants our world to go towards a one world order.
Yeah.
That's they're moving towards.
And that's why they hate Christianity so much, is because it talks about those rights and freedoms, and what they want to do is for the government to own most of the land and lock up most of the land so it's sustainable by the year 2050. They want the government to own 85% of all land. And to lock most of it up so we can't go into it, so the earth is sustainable and the little animals can continue on and so forth. Anyway, but anyway, let's continue on with this video. Let's watch it. May as well.
All right, yeah, let's see what Clark has to say here.
Yeah.
Some vertebrae are missing, and I should point out that there are one or two elements that are still missing, and we think those were washed down to a lower level in the cave. There's still a lot of breccia to excavate there, and we hope to do this in the near future. Now, as has been said, she is the most complete Australopithecus skeleton ever discovered from anywhere, and ever discovered from.
Oh, dang it, I missed it. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Look at that. That is terrible. Hang on. No, hang on. Yeah, that's right. No, that's terrible. I mean, look at that pelvis. How can you make anything of that? Whether that was ape or human. I'm sorry, man. There's no way they can tell from that pelvis.
Yeah, they pulled that piece by piece out of the flowstone rock. Remember that they exhumed that pelvis, and they pulled it out piece by piece, and then they glued it together. That's why it's all looks like it's been glued together piece by piece, because it was,
Yeah, but it just looks. I mean, they've obviously tried to glue it back the way as they took it out to the same way they found it in the rock, right? I mean, otherwise they would have made it look more, but you just can't tell. You can't tell what that's from. You cannot tell. I mean, even
Yeah.
the vertebrae, you wouldn't even recognize those as vertebrae, would you? If you just saw that line on the ground, you just think it was a weird
Yeah.
shaped rock.
Yeah, it's useless as far as gaining information from, I'd say. I mean, there's no sacrum. Like looking at it, you can't see a sacrum. You don't see holes of the sacrum. There's no sacrum. So like Lucy's a far better specimen to make uh, comparative critiques with it, because there's
Yeah,
actual parts to look at.
yeah.
So
Well, there's not very much evidence for this other than they're just making up stories, finding bits of bone and sticking them all together and making up stories.
yeah,
Skeleton ever discovered from anywhere. And she is the oldest Australopithecus, the oldest hominid in southern Africa. There are older specimens in East Africa, but they are fragmentary and they are of different species. But what is important about Littlefoot is that for the first time in any early hominid, any early Australopithecus, we can determine the length of the leg and the length of the arm in one individual. And we can say absolutely that this species of Australopithecus, i.e. Australopithecus prometheus, had legs which were longer than the arms. In other words, like us.
Did he just say he can say with absolute certainty that it had legs longer than the arms? Oh man, just those bones that they're finding are. I mean, they're literally finding human bones all the time. Yeah, all the time. You can see this, just putting them in any conglomeration, just mixing it up. It's crazy, man. I want for them to find this thing articulated in one spot altogether. Find one so they can show us. Not
pretty
this.
dead giveaway that the bottom would be human. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Just chucking human bones in with just. Oh man, that is so pathetic.
Yeah,
Look at
in
them
this case, it
all
looks like gorilla bones mixed with human remains. So
yeah.
yeah,
Well, you just wouldn't know. Like some of those rib bones, look at them. How would you know?
yeah,
I mean, for sure. It's like you got the curves in the arm bones, but then you got the arm bone on the other side straight. See? Got a curve in the arm bone on one side and the arm bone on the other side, and the same arm bone's just dead straight. It's like, because, they'll say deformation when it suits them, obviously, but you can see that. Man,
sure.
that's creepy that they take themselves so seriously. Look at them, bunch of freaking little babies all running around going, we found, look what we put together in the story we made up. Oh, we're so smart.
We have long legs and shorter arms. The apes, on the contrary, have long arms and short legs. And there's been a lot of speculation in the past, and some people have claimed that Australopithecus had long arms and short legs. That is certainly not the case with Australopithecus prometheus. The proportions were similar to ourselves. We also know that she was walking upright. We know that from aspects of her foot and also from her pelvis. She was an upright walker with legs longer than arms. If you look at the hand there too, it's a complete hand. It's beautiful. It's the fingers and the thumb are folded over the palm. There's so much information to be gained just from that hand.
Yeah, really? Can we see the curved finger bones? Can we see like a, or are they more straight bones like a human's? I would love to see this thing. I would love to see the actual original. I mean, I think that is a pretty good representation of bits and chunks that they found. But I mean, I'd love to see that hand bone a bit better.
Yeah, I mean, if we get a close up of the hand, But the thing is people have looked at this discovery since Clark has passed away. You know, they've done research, and what they've come to find is that a lot of the upper body appears to be very tree-dwelling ape appearing. Okay. So, and even more so like gorilla, you know, and that's what pointed us towards gorilla, is that they said that the pectoral gait is actually more like a gorilla or a tree climbing gorilla than it would be like a Australopithecine. So, and again, you know, it's important to point out that according to human evolution theory, we came from ancestors of modern day chimpanzees. So we're looking for chimp-like ancestors for our ancestry. And they're trying to claim this missing link here is a missing link to us.
Here it is. I found it.
It's got very gorilla features, you know.
I found it, what you were talking about before. It says here, where is it? It's also that the STW575 displays many features that other apes present, such as an S-shaped curve in their collarbone, along with a vertebral bar, and other fragments of the cast, such as pectoral girdle and a high ridge of STW573 shoulder blades, suggest that they had a strong upper body to support their weight while they hung from branches and climbed trees. There you go, straight from the horse's mouth.
But yet the bottom part of its body was perfectly developed for running and walking on two legs. So
For being bipedal.
Yeah, it just used to drag its legs around like useless, you know, like like they were useless in the trees. So just use its upper body. And then when it got on the ground, it converted back to legs. That's it. It was like the Transformer. Transformer ape.
Pictures of this
tree climbing apparatus. Human walking apparatus. Then they can get ready to walk
swinging from tree to tree.
Yeah.
Even the chimps don't even know what the hell they're looking at when they look at this thing. It's like, it's freaking weird. But
oh yeah. Look, she's shocked. Lucy's shocked that you don't believe. What? You don't believe in me? What? What? I don't
believe I'm real. I'm really, really real.
Yeah, little Sasquatch.
Here's one. This one's fun. There we go. That's good to look at. And there, you know, that's an Africanus. So you can tell by the skull.
Yeah, you can tell. Head. You can tell by the human feet. Oh,
my word.
So now anytime they find human feet in any layer, they can just say, that was Australopithecus. It just fell down a crack and got down the dinosaur layer, but it was Australopithecus, not human. Definitely not human. Yeah. They got an explanation for everything now. And the hands as well. The hands. Yeah, they got an explanation for that. So that's human hands there. Anyway.
Have you seen the diagram or whatever they drew up for how Littlefoot supposedly got into the cave and it fell through the ceiling?
Oh, okay. So it broke apart, like fell through the ceiling and had a really high fall and hit jagged rocks and pieces. Yeah, because that happens all the time. Animals get cut to bits, like and fall in different levels.
Fell 25 feet and broke into 20 pieces. Yeah.
Yeah, and 20
20
different
major
parts of the
pieces
cave.
fell
Then
all
got
over the cave
washed
system.
down, yeah, with rain and imaginary floods and all sorts of things like local floods, and yeah, that's how it got sort of dispersed.
Mhm. Yeah, it took 4 paleoanthropologists to produce this thing. You have Tobias, Lee Berger, Clark, and someone else, but I forgot. All these guys working in the Serpentine Cave system to produce these
That's a scary thought.
Frankensteins,
Yeah,
basically.
just getting boxes of bones and feverishly picking through them, and look, that looks like it matches up with that. Oh yeah, if you squint your eyes, sort of look. Yep, that's it. That's how they do it, man. I'm telling you. That's what I reckon.
The hand on this side, the right hand, there are some elements that are missing.
I just got to say quickly, it always blows me away. It's just like I used to see evolutionists all the time. They're so smart. How do they work this stuff out? It's so like it just they basically admit that it's impossible to make any real findings from most of these bones that they find. Because they say it's just that they're so smart. They work it out. No, they're not smart. They're just they are smart actually. They're just smart, good at making up stories, putting stuff together. Oh, look, we found this human bone over here. This could be really bad, and there was some witnesses there that have got a creationist leaning. We're going to have to put these bones into some conglomeration. We'll just make up another Lucy or something. I don't know. It's just anyway. I got to shut up. Sorry, I can't help it.
That's what went on with Naledi, though. That's exactly what happened. So,
yeah. Well, the bones are all bleached or something. There was just something really weird. I remember reading an article where they really ripped into him for the way he handled that find in that cave and contaminated the evidence. And I think they even said that they think he walked on bones and broke them and all sorts of things. But anyway,
oh yeah,
that's a good way to cover up for just come out and say that he made a mistake when he discovered it. So if they do find any anomalies that would point towards fraud, they can say, he just made a mistake. It wasn't actually fraud. Well, sounds like a bloody good scam to me. Con artist. Good con artist.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm reading the article about Lee Berger and his Naledi find, and they're saying that the bones were like wet, and they had to dry them out in the sun and bake all the moisture out of them. I'm like, these are fossils, right? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, it's just I don't know. Someone suggested something to me about this a long time ago. I mean, I don't know. Let's not speculate. But the Nettie one is more like if those bones were truly there in that cave, then it could also be how like tribes use apes and things to climb up trees, right? So if you're using apes to climb up trees, they'd be like your pets. Especially back in those days, they'd climb up and get nuts and fruits and things that you couldn't normally get, right? And so like they use them today. So they would have used them back then. Maybe they were just pets that got, and when they were finished, they threw them in the cave. Who knows? Could be a lot of different reasons why they're there. Could just be outright fraud. Could be. It's definitely not what they say it is. That's all I know. There's just no way. Like you can just look at the skull. It's a frigging ape. You know what I mean? And you can see from these photos that we've showed here that these fragments of bones.
Yeah, they've got nothing that shows any real transition.
No, just boxes of bones that they're feverishly, sorting through. And look, that looks like it fits. That looks like it fits. Oh, maybe that'll fit over there, and maybe that'll. That's just pathetic. It is. You can see that's what they're doing. You can see it if you look at the photos, clear as day. You can go back up to the photo and just show it quickly, so people have got a reference.
Yeah, I mean, this one. Sorry.
Hang on. No, it's all right. Put it on. I'll just hang on. I was just finding it. But if you found it first, no, this one. This is what I'm talking about. Hang on. I'll keep the same spot as that video, so don't worry. It won't get lost. It won't get lost. This one. Hang on. Wait a minute. This one. Oh, hang on. Where is it? It's just right. Moved. Hang it. It moved back. Oh well, I know how to find it. Like this. No. There it is. There it is. This one.
Sure.
So
what is this? The clavicle?
There. No, it's the pelvic bone or ilium or something like that. Or the clavicle or the shoulder or whatever it is. It doesn't matter.
Sure.
Shoulder or whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. What I'm trying to show here is if you look really closely at your computer screen or your phone screen, you'll see that those bits of bone don't even really match up in a lot of cases, and they're all different colors. So they come from different parts of the cave. They said that they pick them through boxes, right, of mine tailings. You can see this is just like they've just put bits and pieces together to make up a whole. That's not science, as far as I'm concerned. Putting all these bits and pieces of bone to make up some shape like this, it's not science.
Yeah, that's art.
That's not. It's art. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what an artist does. Goes through a cave and picks through that sort of thing, and then sells it for a lot of money. That sort of thing. It's not science. It's not a scientific discovery, not in my opinion. But anyway, might be in other people's pseudo-scientific opinions.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. Like all those pieces were different colors, and they're trying to say that they're from the same exact location. And I mean, even if they did pull them out of the same rock, why are they different colors? I mean, now when you look at the whole skeleton, I don't know if they sprayed it down with something, but it looks all about the same general color.
Yeah, I don't think it was.
But the reason that is because it's from the same cave, system.
But so is the other one, right? And then, but in the same cave system, you got all different types of rock formations. Like you've got quartz and different coloured quartzes and in different areas and stuff like that. So that's what I mean. Like that could be from a large cave system, and of course that they've just gone through the mine tailings. So there's obviously millions of tons of earth that's been dug out of there and they don't know what part of the cave it came from, unless they went in there and found stuff later in the cave, and then they can say what part it came from. But
right,
and they're going through the mine tailings. It's just, they're just putting stuff together. They're just picking could be bones from 100 different animals in that thing, 100 different creatures. Some of the same creature, like same species, but different creatures. You know what I mean? So,
well, that's how a lot of the paleoanthropologists do it. Is they'll take a bunch of different bones, stick them together, and then claim that while it's not representing a single individual, it's to represent that species. So they knowingly put together these skeletons of multiple individuals, but they're all supposed to be from the same species, right? I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be, but I can't see. You can look at that. There's no way. Look, the arm bones are curved on the left hand side, and on the right hand side, or depending on if you're facing a computer screen, on the left hand side it's straight, and on the right hand side it's curved. That's just Oh, that's that deformation.
She's in rough shape.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
She's seen better days. The old grey mare ain't what she used to be. Yeah, poor old little foot. I reckon if you could be like God and just snap your fingers and make like all the different creatures appear from all the different fragments of bone, you'd probably get 100 different creatures all appear.
Animals would crawl out of that
Lucy,
glass safe.
Reform Lucy, and then snap your fingers, and then 100 different creatures appear, and you go, "What?" And you stand there scratching your head, going, "Hang on a second."
I love discussing this with you. Paleoanthropology. It's the best.
I know. All right. Okay. We'll
It
get it
is.
going. We'll just watch it. We'll just watch it. I don't know.
All
We'll
right,
make
all
it
right.
funny. All right.
No, you're getting no. And Clark, he makes some serious
There are parts
claims
of
here.
the pelvis that are missing, and in fact, the bone that is preserved on that side is thinner than paper. It's just a skin of bone on top of rock. And the reason for this is the conditions within the cave. And this is why also it was so important that we excavate this slowly, because by doing so, we've been able to interpret what we call the taphonomic history.
I love that word, interpret. You see, at least he's honest. So that's what people miss when they watch these things, evolutionists. They miss those words.
Mm.
See, it's his interpretation, their interpretation of something, of what
Right.
they found. It's not
And it's a
100% fact.
misinterpretation.
Sorry, brother, you're breaking up.
Man,
Yeah,
right.
sorry.
No, they're misinterpreting these remains. You're exactly right, and it's whether it's intentional or unintentional. That's the question. I think from something like this, you gotta be intentional. You know.
Oh yeah, intentional for sure, 100%. No doubt about it. All right.
The history of what happened to the body when it fell into the cave and the events that occurred in subsequent years. And there were many events.
I like this guy because he's honest, at least.
And these I will be recounting in the.
I mean, honest about it, it's just his interpretation or their interpretation. That's why I like him, because he was honest about it. So that made me like him a hell of a lot more.
Paper I'll be producing. But it wasn't just one burial event. There was burial, and there was slipping, and there was collapse, and there was re-cementation, and there was decalcification. There were many events. And part of the decalcification or erosion of the breccia around the pelvis removed some of it. And unfortunately, we will never recover that. It was turned into pulp and washed away millions of years ago. But some of the missing elements.
Millions of years! Mate, millions of years.
That's a long time.
Yeah, man.
No.
It's a long time to be sitting in running water. Millions of years. Anyway, okay.
I was gonna say, he's telling the story like he was there. Like there was falling, breaking, and falling away of another shelf, and I don't know what he went on. But it's like that's basically him explaining, like, we found this thing all over the cave.
Yeah, I know.
That's the
we
whole.
just
That's
got a whole lot
the
of
point.
buckets. We just got a whole lot of, like, about 30 boxes of fragment. I'm exaggerating here, all right? So they probably didn't have 30 boxes. They might have had 100 boxes for all I know. We got 30 boxes of fragments, 900 kilos of bone fragments, and we managed to scrape this together. We managed to scrape this together out of the bone fragments. Yeah, that's what it should. That's what he should actually say. Really honest. That's what he's saying. Anyway, let's get on with it before people lose track of what they're. Anyway,
it's like the patellae, the kneecaps, probably floated away in water, and we may yet find them at a lower level within the deposit. So we're very excited about the prospect of continuing the work in the cave.
The prospect of continuing to find fragments in different parts of the cave and seeing if we can match them up and fit them into this conglomeration. Yes, it's very exciting.
Well, the rest of they floated away
There's
in the water.
Yeah, but it is exciting for him because he's making millions out of this. There's a lot of people making enormous amounts of money out of this, not just him. So right down the line.
Sure, different foundations are going to fund his work now. That's the whole thing. Is that's how they get their cash for their projects, and they get their cash for their cars. And,
yeah.
And perhaps uncovering some of these missing elements. The foot bones, you'll see some of the foot bones are missing on this side and more on the left as well. Those were blasted off by the lime miners. And despite our continuing efforts to locate them, we have been unable to do so. It's
They were blown into smithereens.
But don't you worry. But don't you worry. We'll find some fossilized bone fragment that'll fit in there, and we'll match it in just as soon as we can. Whether it doesn't matter if it came from 100 meters away in a different part of the cave, up a different, corridor. We'll match it in there, and we'll let you all know. Yeah. And then we'll have to reprint a whole lot
Shoehorned
of
in
books
there.
to add this new in. But the good thing is, every time they make a new discovery, they have to reprint all the books to update them. So that's the best scam on earth. You're constantly updating this. Oh, you need to get the updated versions. Like if it's a year old, it's out of date. Or 10 years old. Yeah. Anyway.
possible that they were taken away years ago by souvenir hunters, because we do know that tourists were coming into the cave and taking away blocks of breccia with fossils in them as souvenirs. That, of course, is forbidden now. You're not allowed to pick up fossils on any of these sites. But in the early days,
that's right. Only we're allowed to find little bone fragments and put them together and make up fairy tales. And you guys, the general public, you can all get banned. Yeah, that's it. I just interpretation. Aussie man.
That is a perfect example of what's going on. They are downright incredulous. Is that the word? No, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Sounds good. Good enough. Shit, right?
They're certainly being dishonest. They don't want anyone in that cave system now. They got it all barred up. They got a barred gate in front of the main entrance there. So
Enter on penalty of death. Yeah, that's it. But that's like that guy, that dentist that had to get that found those bones. They were chasing him all over France. And he had to lock himself in freaking hotel rooms and all sorts of things, man. They literally had people out trying to knock him on the head to take all the information back. When they're chasing you around like that, that you got something, and of course everyone says, just bullshit, he's making it up and all that. Yeah, well, if he's making it up, why did they chase him, all the way till he out of France?
Right, where's the motivation if he was making it up? I guess just to shut some dude up that's talking, nonsense. I guess. But why would they be so offended?
Worried because it's not gonna hurt the mainstream if they're telling the truth. If they're telling the truth, then it's not going to hurt the mainstream. So he got in. They thought he was an evolutionist, obviously, and I don't know. I think they must have, or he got in to see the actual fossils that they're hiding from people. He obviously couldn't take photos of them or get photos out because they wouldn't give him permission for that. But he got in to actually physically see them and handle them himself. So that's what they were a little bit dirty about, because the general public doesn't know about this stuff, I reckon. When the teeth were put together in the wrong occlusion, and when he put them together in the proper occlusion, that it looked more human and less ape. And he, being an orthodontist, would know. But this is the sort of thing we're dealing with, the people we're dealing with. Anyway, this is the point that I'm bringing up about this. Just keep your mind open to the imaginations of this guy pouring out this guy's mouth.
Yeah. And like you said with the orthodontist, as he pointed out, a lot of the jaws that they're discovering here in paleoanthropological research, they're having the teeth put in after the fact. So they're finding a bunch of teeth and then setting them into the mandibles. So it's quite more like art, like we were saying.
They're improperly. They're putting them together to make them look more ape-like. Whereas if you get a proper dentist or orthodontist and get them to put it together, the way the proper occlusion, as he said, then it comes out looking much more human-like. And
there's people that'll judge an entire skull just off of the teeth. Well, if this is a gorilla skull, then why does it have flattened teeth and no jaws? And it's well, they don't know that when they're juveniles that they're canines aren't completely presented. You know, they don't
Yeah.
know that these paleoanthropological discoverers are so are filing stuff down and sanding parts of skulls off and parts of
Look at it. Look at an
pelvises
infant.
off. And,
Yeah. Look at an infant
Yeah.
baboon skull and an adult baboon skull,
There you
or
go.
even a fetus baboon skull, and then look at them and look at the difference. Massive difference. And you look at like the golden baboon. If you ignore all the canines, right? Just type in golden baboon and then go to images and ignore all the canines and just look at the middle, front, and bottom teeth and look how human they look. It's creepy. It's really
Which is-
creepy.
which is hilarious because baboons are actually, you know, still monkeys. They're like the biggest monkey, you know. So it's like we're actually matching more with what's supposed to be predecessors. So
Yeah. Let me see if I can find it.
all right. I
Here
think
we
I
go.
remember that one guy on the right there from another video I watched, Jolene, with President Obama.
Yeah.
And he was checking out the Lucy discovery. Like he went and they had like some presentation at the White House where the paleoanthropologists bring all their discoveries in, and Obama's there, like, you know, touching the Lucy bones or whatever.
Oh,
and the
really?
one guy's like looking at him like, what are you doing? Like, you know.
And I was really actually going to make kind of the same comment that Christian
Breaking
Carpenter made here. It's kind of like they're making their own puzzle pieces.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, literally, you know, it's like they're got their own little puzzle there.
Christian Carpenter's in the chat. Hey man, how
Yeah.
you doing? Good to see you.
Yes, I
Good Tuesday evening to you, or Wednesday morning, depending on which side of the earth you're on. Wednesday
Yeah.
afternoon, I guess, where
oh yeah, one
Jason's at.
Yeah.
So
There you go.
there you go. Look at them chompers.
Definitely
Look at the
would
bottom
get
teeth.
bitten by
Look how
those.
human looking. Look how
And I was
human
bad
like they
enough
are.
getting
The middle
bitten by
one.
the kitty earlier.
Give us a
But
kiss.
the middle. Look.
No, I'll pass. I already got bitten
look
by
at the,
one stompers. Don't want to get bitten by those, man. That would
But hang on,
hurt.
just wait a sec. Look at the bottom teeth, right? The bottom in the middle between the canines.
Sure.
Look how human-like they are. Look, I mean, and look, it's such. It's really sort
Yeah.
of creepy.
Yeah, they're pretty
They
flat.
are, yeah.
But now we have looked at, you know, you and I, Jason, we've looked at the comparisons of human and ape, the dental arcades here, as you can see. Hopefully it's on the screen. But the ape has more of a U-shaped dental arcade, where they say the human has more of a V-shaped one. And it'd be like if you were to draw lines through the molars and these dental arcades, you'd get like a V shape with the human. And then with the, the chimpanzee or the tree-dwelling apes, you have that U shape, and you have those extended canines, you know, where that's not even present in the human. So
Yeah.
And then when you look at this, the Littlefoot skull compared to the juvenile gorilla skull, you really see that same thing where there's no real canines pressing out. So it's like where they filed down, but it looks about the same on the left and right. So now knowing that they add teeth later on is interesting, but I also question it because they were saying that they had to remove the lower jaw from the skull after the fact because it was fused to the skull. So when they took this off of here, they broke it into several pieces, you know. But it just seems like such a dead-on match. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say the teeth are broken off. Canines would have had canines.
Yeah,
You
or
can
even
see
if they're even present there,
you can
like it
see a
almost
gap
seems like
there at
there's
the
a
front.
space. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
a
there
gap.
is. There's a gap there. There's a gap
Mhm.
there where a canine should be. So,
And you take
anyway,
out the canine, then you don't have to account for it.
look at the golden baboon, man. The back teeth in that as well. I mean, they're just broken off. They're just worn down,
Yeah.
broken off teeth.
But even with that baboon that you showed, you have that U-shaped dental arcade, or the like we were discussing.
Yeah.
Even with this bonobo chimp skull, you have that U-shaped dental arcade, and it's more like a dog, than any
Yeah.
human,
All right.
because they have that pushed out mouth. So,
All right, let's get on with it. Let's get
Oh.
on with this video.
all right.
All right.
That was normal for people just to take these away. So very, very exciting, not only for us here in South Africa and here at Wits University, but exciting for the whole world. And once again, I want to thank PAST for enabling us to bring this to your attention today. Littlefoot was the name that Philip Tobias applied to the first 4 foot bones. When I showed them to him, when I first found them, he said, "Oh, what a little foot! Ha ha ha! Let's call it Littlefoot to contrast it with Bigfoot, the Sasquatch of North America." And so when I found,
Yeah, the tiny Sasquatch creature.
Yeah. So we're gonna name it Littlefoot in contrast with the North American Bigfoot creature. Yeah. Okay. So see, it's not just me.
Yeah.
They're calling them Sasquatches too.
Yeah. Here we go.
the rest of it, beginning with the shin bone, there's the fragment fitted on there, you see. When I found that, and then the rest of the skeleton, it just became known as Littlefoot. Well, she was little. She wasn't, and her foot was little. This is, of course, the culminating find of my career in terms of the greatness of the specimen. But who knows?
Canines are just broken off. It's just all broken off, and it's been and like you said, they put teeth in that they probably found teeth in other places and put it in there. For all we know, we wouldn't know unless we saw the actual, what they actually found when they first pulled it out of the rock. We wouldn't have a clue. This is just the storytelling at its finest.
Exactly. And like I said, I still cannot locate a photo of the bottom of the skull without the mandible on it. So we can't even get a shot of the dental arcade or the maxillary arcade. So to say, I mean, looking at it, it almost looks like there's a space where the canine should have been. But we can't really say until we get the either x-rays or a good photo shot. And they did get that mandible off, like that lower jaw. They removed it. They probably broke it apart to get it off of there, but there's still no shot of the underside of this thing. And all of the literature surrounding it that I've seen online, we cannot find that maxillary arcade. Because you know what I think? I think they took it off there and they realized that they had a gorilla.
Yeah.
Because they didn't remove that mandible until even after this interview. You know what I mean?
These things shouldn't even be entertained as scientific finds unless they print the photos of the original find and what the condition, and so everyone out in the public can see it and judge it. They want people to see only what they're showing them, and that's not science. That's hiding stuff. And that's wrong. That's bad science anyway.
Of the greatness of the specimen, but who knows? that we may find even more complete ones in those caves. This was a rare occurrence, and the rarity of finding skeletons has to be appreciated. Normally, we're lucky if we find even part of a skeleton. The idea of finding a complete one may have been okay to Robert Broom in the 1930s, but as we proceeded with our researches in different parts of Africa, we realized that the chances were remote indeed, because when these animals or hominids died out in the open, they were quickly consumed by scavengers and the bones were scattered. So the only way that Littlefoot was preserved as a complete body is because she fell into the cave.
He just said the only way Littlefoot was preserved as a complete body is that she fell into the cave. That's just an outright lie. It was found
Yeah.
just see, if people watch this, an evolutionist will watch this, an atheist will watch this and go, see, he said that, so it must be true. They didn't. They got it in little buckets and bits and pieces from all mine tailings and all sorts of. Anyway.
Well, I'll tell you that it seems he's like pushing his story, you know, like he knows how it was found, but this is the story he's giving to the press, you know. And if you go back, can you scroll back like 20 seconds and listen to what he just went on about? Like probably like there, yeah.
In different parts of Africa, we realized that the chances were remote indeed, because when these animals or hominids died out in the open, they were quickly consumed by scavengers and the bones were scattered. So the only way that Littlefoot was preserved.
So he's like, the excuse is why we don't find any little mini Sasquatches isn't because they don't exist. It's because when they die, they get pulled apart really quick, you know, by scavengers and stuff. And it's like, well, then why the hell are there any, you know, articulated fossils?
Yeah.
I mean, what wouldn't die and get pulled apart by predators? He's like, well, she fell into a cave and nothing could rip it apart. But yet she was found in pieces all over the cave. And I don't know.
Yeah, and
It seems like he's
said,
rationalizing the lack of discoveries.
He said earlier he literally said earlier that it was found in we hope to find other parts in different parts of the cave. So he admitted that they found it in different parts of the cave, and then he said the only reason we found her all in one place. Well, when he says one place, he means like that one cave system, right? He doesn't mean like one, you know, articulated place. But anybody watching that didn't see the earlier stuff that he was talking about or register about it would think straight away that he meant that skeleton was found articulated and they found it all in one spot.
Well, that's how I took it listening to him. I mean,
yeah, but earlier on in the video, he literally said that they hope to find other parts of this thing in other parts of the cave. He literally said that with his own mouth. So and in the literature, they admit that they find it in different parts and stuff, and yet he's portraying it there after just basically contradicting what he said earlier in this same video. So.
And then he says, like, this guy in the 1930s, you know, it might have been okay to expect finding a whole skeleton of an Australopithecine back in the 1930s, but as they went to look for these things, they realized how rare they were and couldn't find any, even whole ones. And it's like, well, that means you haven't found any evidence of them. And now it's almost been 100 years since that guy set out to find a skeleton of these. And if this isn't one, then, you know, shouldn't there be more? I mean, like, one, all they need to prove this is to find one skeleton all together articulated. And they would have proof. But instead, they have a box of bones that they found all over the place. in every situation. It's from throughout the cave system, and they're never certain that it's of a single individual. So
Yeah, it's pretty silly.
it is.
It's from many different creatures. I reckon there's even many different species, kinds, whatever you want to call them, mixed into that. Like those little fragments that they've got in places, mate, they wouldn't have a clue what that come from, mate. Could have come from a giant rat for all they know. That's why I said that joke. I'd love to, click my finger, have the power to click my fingers and make that skeleton come back to life. Probably come back to life as 100 different animals. Anyway,
it would look like at the end of one of the Sonic the Hedgehog runs, where you jump on the thing and Mr. Robotnik.
No, there'd be 100 different animals standing in front of you. With each bit of bone that came from a different animal, and it just formed into that animal. So you'd have 100 different animals standing in front of you. You think you got to snap your fingers, and then it's going to build up into one creature, and then 100 different creatures appear in front of you, be scratching your head. No, what? Well, that's basically what it is.
You know what they should do is just try and test the DNA of any part of that skeleton. I mean, they're trying to say that these are fossils or whatever, but that doesn't mean we can't get any DNA out.
Very true.
Yeah, but they won't do that. The contamination would be horrendous. Yeah, but they by now the contamination would be so bad, and those bones would be so porous. You know what I mean? Those fossils. They needed to do it straight away. Or maybe, I don't know. Maybe there's a way. Who knows? I don't know enough about these things.
And that kind of runs into Christian Carpenter's point here, where he's talking about it would take conclusive DNA testing for it to convince him that Australopithecine are real. I mean, or seeing one. I mean, if we go out and we shoot a Sasquatch and they've got this thing, I would still not believe it. I really wouldn't. I'd be like, this is some kind of government built crap. I don't know.
Yeah, genetic experiment or something.
Because Sasquatch just aren't real. And here you have people looking for Sasquatch basically in fossil form. They're like, we can't find one in nature, so we're going to go look for him in fossil form and stick a bunch of human and ape bones together, because that's about what you got to do to have a Sasquatch. So,
yeah, like the Sasquatch in somewhere in Missouri, I think it was. That was ripping out. They had video footage of it, and they put it up online as a Sasquatch. It was a freaking escaped ape from a zoo. You could see clearly. When someone showed me the video, and they didn't tell me what it was from. They just said, this is what they reckon. This is a Sasquatch. And I watched it. And I said, that's just an ape ripping bloody trees out of the ground and throwing them, small trees and stuff. I said, that's what it looks like to me. And he said, funny you say that, because an ape escaped from the zoo, and then a short time later, these Sasquatch videos started turning up. So there you go.
Well, yeah, man. I mean, the most famous Sasquatch footage I think that there is definitely a guy in a gorilla suit. It's so obvious.
No, the one I saw, you could tell it was an actual ape ripping roots. It was the clear as crystal clear that this thing was just an ape, an actual escaped ape, and an ape had actually escaped from the zoo in this particular instance. And people were getting, obviously believing what they wanted to believe instead of what it actually was. If I had seen it, I would have called the Parks and Wildlife straight away and said, "There's a freaking ape running around, mate! Get out of here and catch the thing before it hurts someone." That's what I would have said. I would have been going, "Oh, look, it's a Sasquatch!"
Well, they've got, where they've found. Well, okay, so the classic footage of the Sasquatch, where they've got the guy just taking a few steps into the woods or whatever.
Yeah.
It's that is definitely a gorilla suit, and it's so obvious. And they say because so the arms are longer, grown off of that,
It's so dumb.
I know.
It's just, but it's got to be the subconscious human evolution mind. That's produced this thing. That somewhere out in the woods, there must be some ape that walks on its back legs.
Yeah, well, apes can walk. this thing was standing up on its back legs and ripping, then reaching down and ripping tree roots up,
Yeah.
standing up on its back legs and ripping things apart and going off its head while it was standing on its back legs. But it was just an ape. You could see it.
Yeah.
If I saw that thing in the wild, mate, I wouldn't be standing there videotaping it. I'd be running. I'd see that and I'd run, mate, and I'd call Parks and Wildlife and say, "Get out here, catch this bloody ape!" I'm currently running at a speed of 5 miles an hour, headed in the opposite direction.
Yeah, that'd be like seeing a bear to me because I'm not used to it. So, I mean, there's people that'll sit with them and they've studied the
love to,
population.
but no, seeing one in the wild scares the piss out of me.
Yeah.
No, it wouldn't scare me. I just say, look, it would either be a gorilla or a demonic apparition. It'd be either be one of the two. It's like that guy. It's like that guy I told you. Okay. Now I believe this guy was telling the truth about this, right? But you tell me what you think could have done it. He said that he had a rotten, bloated bull carcass or cow carcass, say, just to make things easier. So he had this rotten, bloated bull carcass, and he wanted to use it. Like he wanted to take it out into this field and put it in a field, and then put like trail cams up all around it, so you could get good images of bears or wolves or whatever predated it. Because bears love eating rotten things; they're disgusting creatures, and so do wolves. Anyway, so what he did was he went off to the edge of this. There was this winding road down the side of a mountain. And off the edge of the road, it sort of didn't go straight down, but it sort of went very, very steep. You couldn't drive any car down it or even a motorbike. It was too steep. And then it went down into this great big open flat field. And he threw the carcass. He didn't throw it. He backed the truck up and put the tilt tray up and let the carcass fall down. It fell sort of like somewhere out in the middle of the field. And he could see it perfectly. Then he set up all of his cameras and everything and went away. And when he come back, he said that the carcass was gone. There was no blood or evidence. Like if predators had got it, it would have been torn to pieces. There would have been bits of bone and blood and bits of fur and stuff. There was just nothing, and there was not even footprints leading to it or from it.
Wow.
So, I mean, unless the Sasquatch has got supernatural abilities, like a demon or something.
It must be.
Oh, it's aliens, or aliens come down the spaceship and sucked up a dirty, rotten carcass for who knows? Maybe that's
That's what I was gonna say, dude.
That's gross.
Like
super aged beef
Wow.
for the aliens.
Snack. They were trying to make get their tenderloin on. Can't blame them.
Yeah.
If I was an alien, I'd come get stuff from here, I guess.
Liquefied.
I couldn't make it.
Rotten carcass.
Yeah, probably.
Wouldn't you get something a little bit better than a rotten carcass?
Yeah, that's true.
No, because it attracts them. The smell of the rotten carcass attracts wolves and bears. Like I've seen bears eating like a dead whale washed up this river, a dead sperm whale or
yeah,
I think it was.
Bears are disgusting creatures.
Yeah, so that's why he put a rotten carcass, and wolves too. Wolves love rotten.
Wolves are nasty.
And this thing just disappeared, and he said there wasn't a heavy snowfall because you could see the imprint of this thing where it was, but there was no footprints leading to or from it from any creature. And he said that the only way they could have got that was got a great big truck crane and backed the truck crane up to the back of the cliff and then gone out, put the truck crane right out over it. Someone got on there, got lowered down, put a thing around it, lifted it out of there. He said that's the only way. So how did it get out of there? So that's like supernatural type shit. That's weird.
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, I've talked to people that believe in the Sasquatch, and I'm like, well, why haven't they caught one or, shot one or whatever? And it's like, well, they go invisible.
People all through my town where I grew up believe in it. And there's literally statues all throughout my town.
Yeah. Yeah,
because if you see it,
supposedly these people have seen it, but I mean, I've grown up there all my life, basically, and I never seen one. I've seen other weird stuff, but
So then you have, young Earth creationists that really, they believe in these Sasquatch animals, or even in the Australopithecine themselves, but they don't believe, like, that's really humankind.
I kept trying to tell this guy
But
that
there's
it's
kind of
supernatural. Like these Sasquatches that you're watching are supernatural. You think about it. How do they go in there and lift up something and take something without leaving any footprints, any trace, nothing in soft, deep snow? And there's the imprint of the creature there. It's just there's all this weird stuff that he'd come up with. Like all of a sudden they'd just be there, and he'd look back and they wouldn't be there. And I'm just saying, mate, it sounds sort of a bit, like ghost haunting type stuff more than actual evidence of creatures. Like that are physical creatures that are walking around in the woods. Anyway, but they believe in ghosts too, a lot of atheists, which is really funny. Anyway.
The complete body is because she fell into the cave and was buried in sediment, naturally buried in sediment, before any scavengers could get to her. And also it was in a very deep part of the cave. And although we do find the fossils of many other carnivores in there, we find hyenas, we find leopards, there's in fact a leopard man.
There you go. There it is. There it is. It's all bits of all different creatures. They magically bring them back to life and snap your fingers, and all hyenas and all these different creatures appear. That'd be funny as.
Always found quite close to her. And we find saber-toothed cats. Those are animals which also fell in, and they probably died in the fall.
How deep?
How deep? Probably more than 10 meters below the surface. She was elderly. Her teeth are extremely well worn, particularly.
Ah, there it is. The teeth are really worn. That's a good one. More like the teeth are freaking really broken off and ground away from the fossilization process or the whatever happened.
The electric grinder that he used to remove the canines and file them down. They're pretty worn from that.
Yeah, electric grinders wear teeth down pretty fast. Dremel,
Sure.
Dremel. There you go. There's a plug for Dremel. I want a free Dremel tool now for all the whole of 10 people that will see this. Anyway. I'm just all right.
Oh man, they're useful. I got up underneath my tractor with that Dremel and sharpened my blades, and didn't even have to take the blades off the tractor. So
yeah. I don't sharpen blades on things too much anymore. On those things, I leave them a little bit blunt, and on block splitters too. When you're splitting wood, there's a lot of these new block splitters that are out there that are razor sharp, and that's dangerous as hell. You glance off the block and just glance yourself in the leg, mate. You get a mortal wound, cut an artery open out in the middle of nowhere, miles from any hospital. You're gone. So my block splitters are blunt, like really blunt, ultra blunt. It's the physical weight and force hitting the wood that splits it, not the sharpness.
Yeah, I wouldn't do more than like a 45 on the mower blades, 45-degree angle. But yeah, I mean, and they spin around so fast, or whatever, how many thousand RPMs, and it doesn't really matter if they're sharp or dull. I think because it'll still cut.
It does. It does, because I've caught my toes. I've caught my toes in the mower blades before, just the tips of my toes. And I thought to myself, oh, and it hurt like hell. And I thought if those blades were sharp, it would have just done so much more damage.
Old mower blades make the best knives.
Oh yeah, that's
for knife makers, man. Yes. My brother-in-law made my ex-brother-in-law. I mean, used to make knives, and he made me one out of an old mower blade. Unfortunately, I lost it, but it was my favorite knife for the longest time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Get on with this. Here we go.
I've been able to clean some of the teeth. I don't know if you can see from that side.
He just said it. I've been able to clean some of the teeth with me little Dremel. Here you go. He just admitted it.
What did I
You can see the
miss?
teeth.
I'm
They're
sorry.
quite well.
He just said, look, I just cleaned some of the teeth. Hang on, we'll go back. Hang on.
He's
Hang on,
cleaning teeth. No.
he just
Yeah,
admitted
he's
it. Look,
cleaning teeth with his Dremel tool.
I'll just
Getting into the
reshape.
dentist.
Reshaping. I'm cleaning, gently cleaning. I meant to say. Sorry, did I say that out loud?
I'm gently clean some canine off this canine.
Yeah, I put it back. I put it back so you can watch it. Look.
I've been able to clean some of the teeth. I don't know if you can see from that side. Maybe you can see the teeth. They're quite well worn. So she was fully adult. And what made her fall into the cave, we don't know.
Oh, I was able to clean it. Oh, what did you use to clean? Notice no questions from anyone. What did you use to clean it with? Yeah. A Dremel tool. Yeah,
I think it was
wanna
the
say
same thing
that.
used to clean out the nasal cavity there on the skull.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever pointed this out to you before, but and you know what? We never put our link into the chat or anything this time. Gotta do that.
That's all right.
Hang on, let me put this up. So yeah, you're looking at the skull, and it's like more heart shaped. You know, I almost feel like he dremeled out the top of that thing to make it more triangular. But in doing that, he made it look even less human looking somehow.
Yeah.
And then it just looks like there's a triangle in the middle of this thing's face.
And he's trying to put that little dimple there. Oh, that's bad.
Yeah,
Look, it even looks on the side there like it was dremeled.
it does.
Yeah.
On the left-hand side of the nasal passage, that flared part there, it looks like it was dremeled there.
Yeah,
Like, is that possible evidence of Dremel tool? Yeah.
yeah. The whole thing is just.
All right, here we go.
What's the word I'm?
It could have been just an accident that we know that the area is full of holes surrounded by bushes, and she may have just fallen in. But if that was the case, why didn't others also fall in over the millennia? She is the only Australopithecus that's ever been found in that cavern, despite the fact that there are thousands of bones of other animals. And we didn't find even a single tooth of another.
Yeah, it took us ages to pick through all the bones and find bits that would match together to make up this conglomeration with human and ape and other animals, whatever the hell the little fragments are. We don't know. They just seem to fit and look good.
Individual. So it's a very, very strange occurrence.
I may have missed the beginning where you made the distinction between.
Oh, there was the base of the jaw there.
Yeah, I spied that.
There.
Was yeah, that's a
Look at
good
that.
shot. Wow.
That is man. I'm gonna hang on. I'm gonna get a.
It's super smooth. You know what it looks like they filled it in with? There's a bunch of poppycock. No,
I'll get a.
it's smooth and I think he sanded it down and stuff too. So
yeah. There, saved. Yeah, I got a screenshot of it.
nice shot. Screenshot that.
I did.
And that's
I did.
a good background or a thumbnail there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Look at that, man. That is just been filled in with spacky filler, mate. They've got into the builder's bog or the car bog. You know, you fill out the dents on your car with the car bog, and they got their bog out and they've put it on there and then got the Dremel out and shaped it. You can see that's been shaped.
I'll tell you what,
no
from
way
this
they found
angle,
like that.
Oh yeah, and from this angle, it looks so ape-like.
Yeah,
that
the jaw's jutting out.
Yep.
And you can see the teeth there. Look, there's the canine broken off. Those canines,
Sure.
They were canines there. You can see. Look at the space. for all the muscle around it and all the roots and everything around
Yeah,
it.
he
See all
just
that hole on
removed.
either side
He
of the top
flat out.
canine?
He just
Yeah,
removed them. That's how he handled that.
yeah.
So he
Yeah,
did clean up some teeth. That's for sure.
that's just a canine. I'm going to get another screenshot of that. I'm going to quickly get a closer. Hang on, like about here. There. And save.
And just showing this comparison one
Good all
more
over
time here.
in there.
Oh, sorry, brother.
That's all right. I don't mind. Now, yeah, that's a great picture. That shows the canines were
It
there.
is.
That just shows it. I love that picture. You can't see it when they show it side on because it sort of hides it. The shadows hide it, and you can only see it from that angle. Yeah, and look at that. That is just, oh man, there's some freaking plaster of Paris and freaking bog and Dremels and araldite.
And, you know, she was, like he said, she was an adult, and he's saying you could tell that from the dental. And there are some, like, here's an example, if I can get to it, where the canines will break off naturally. You know?
Yeah, and he did
And
say
like
she was
here you
old.
have,
Yeah, there it is on the right hand side on the
you
middle
know, the
jaw.
center one there,
The
that
right-hand
afarensis, supposedly. The one canine's just snapped right off,
Yeah.
you know, on the right. And then on the left, it's still present. So it's
Just
interesting.
makes species of eight. And the fact is,
The left
I'd
one
like
looks
to
like it
know
was
if
shoved
those,
in there, actually.
but I'd like to know if the teeth on that picture you just showed, the molars at the back, were actually found with the skull, or that's a reconstruction of teeth that they found laying around near it, or 100 meters away from it, or I'd like to know if they found that just like that. Is what I
Oh,
want to
yeah.
know.
I mean,
Did
these
they find
guys, they've got more teeth in their head than I do right now, you know. That's
So did they find it? Did they find that like that? I mean, or did they find like that? Just the palate,
and
say,
add the teeth
area
after the
with
fact. Yeah.
and add the teeth afterwards.
Mhm.
I'd like to know. And then if this is like a reconstruction of made to look old, which they do with the reconstructions, I just like to
Yeah.
know. Yeah, if it's
Yeah, they're all reconstructions, man. Like, generally, when you have a mandible like that, and they found it out in the desert, you know,
what we
teeth
need to
were added
see
later on.
Is a photo of those molars from the front, like at the base, but facing the camera lens facing from the front where those canines are, looking to the back, and see the actual structure of the teeth themselves. Because I'd like to get a proper, because on one side it looks like it's all broken away and ripped out, and on the other side, I'd really like to get a look at the. They won't show you that though, because then you could see see it on the ape skull on the left. They've got the sharp bits hanging down on the molar at the side of the molar. Well, they're broken off, right? But if you could see from the view that I just said, the original one, you'd be able to tell if they were broken off or not. You can't tell from this photo. So there's a way that they're hiding it right there. Anyway, all right, let's get on with this video. What do you reckon, or do you want to say something?
Yeah, I would also add that the afarensis maxillary arcade hair in the center of this photo, I believe that this one was taken from the AL333 collection. So that was also known as the first family. And it's basically just a collection of mainly, finger and foot bones. There's some ribs and everything, but hundreds of pieces of what are claimed to be afarensis. But this is one of the larger pieces, is this one maxillary.
Also, I'd like to see it to scale, like of compared to the ape thing as well. There's just not enough photos out there. There's just not
Yeah,
enough
like
photos.
this photo right here is obviously overlaid, you know.
Yeah.
So if we were to actually see the size comparison, because I believe the one on the left is an adult chimpanzee.
Yeah.
For one thing.
I wonder what the babies, the younger ones, molars look like. Be interesting because their teeth are, their heads are a different shape. It'll be interesting to see. But anyway, let's get on with it.
All right.
It's almost over. Haven't got much to go.
I've missed
Yep,
the
yep,
beginning where you made the distinction between, because you referred to this specimen as Australopithecus prometheus,
Prometheus, yes.
as opposed to Australopithecus, the normal version.
Africanus.
Right.
Africanus.
I'm sorry for putting normative on that, but what's the distinction?
Good question. We're only really able to tell this now because of finding many other fossils of Australopithecus at Sterkfontein. Now, originally, Raymond Dart named Australopithecus prometheus on the basis of an occipital that he said was so different from the Sterkfontein hominid, particularly Mrs. Ples, that he would make it a new species. Now, he could have been wrong, but history has shown that he was correct, because we did uncover more fossils at Sterkfontein in the 1980s that confirmed, in my view anyway, confirmed that Dart was correct in recognizing a second species. And that second species differed from Africanus in having larger molar and premolar teeth and having low bulbous cusps on the teeth. Furthermore, it had a gap between the incisors and the canine. And you can see it in this one. It's a big gap there that's called a diastema. You get that in the apes. You get it in Australopithecus afarensis in East Africa.
Oh, there you go. You get it in the apes and you get it in Australopithecus afarensis, just basically calling it an ape.
So there's a space
on you, mate.
between the incisors and the first molars. Or the
Yeah.
canine.
Good on you, mate. Thank you.
And we're
Thank you
seeing
for
that
telling us all this
space
stuff.
there, and that's where I thought that the canines were missing, apparently. But you'll have that. Okay, so that makes it even more ape-like, less transitional than previously thought.
Yeah.
It's a gorilla skull. It's gotta be.
Hang on. Let me see if I can find. Okay, we'll play it. Sorry. All right, keep going. Yeah.
But you do not get it in Australopithecus africanus. Another difference that we can see now that we've got a complete skull here is that the face is longer and larger than that of Australopithecus africanus. And there are many other differences as well.
Have any scientific publications been published on the description of this fossil or yet?
Only preliminary accounts have come out as bits and pieces have been found. For example, I did one talking about the arm, but not a detailed scientific analysis and description. That is happening only now, because before we could do that, we had to get the material out of the rock and reconstruct it. You can't describe a fossil until you can see it. And as I mentioned earlier on, the first adult that Robert Broom found in 1936 is still in its crushed condition in the rock in the Transvaal Museum. And there are many other fossils like that, not only in the Transvaal Museum, but here behind us. There are fossils that still require cleaning and reconstruction before they can be thoroughly.
See? Fossils that are crushed and deformed in the rock and need to be taken apart and reconstructed with their evolutionary worldview. Just admitted it.
Analyzed and published. Certainly you can make basic observations, but to do a detailed analysis, you have to clean it, reconstructed, and now, of course, CT scanning. So it's possible to see the internal anatomy as well.
Oops, almost.
Yeah, it was a decent video there with Clark. I mean, like I said, he's passed now, so we can't really ask him, but we can look at the photos that he provided us with and the literature surrounding the STW 573. He also mentions other Prometheus discoveries in the cave system. One still that's caught in the matrix, the cave flowstone matrix in the museum that they have there in South Africa. So let's take a look. We've got a couple comments. Okay. If something is phony, I would hope that Lucy or whatever would be acknowledged as a fake or real or whatever and carry on. At least come out with the truth. I agree, Devin Phoenix. I mean, you think there'd be enough people looking at these original finds like Lucy, but we just found out that in 2015 there was a baboon vertebra discovered in the Lucy conglomeration by a man named Gary Sawyer in the American Museum of Natural History in New York City, and he was just putting together what would be an Australopithecine kind of like reenactment, real life scene. And just looking at the bones, he could tell that this bone didn't belong with the rest of the vertebrae. So it's obvious that even after 40 years, they're going to find a baboon bone, that they're not taking critical look at these original discoveries. They're not, attempting to test DNA. They're just taking it as truth. And I think, like, if people took a more critical look, then they would find that it's not what's expected. Like, for instance, here is all 7 of the major skeletons that they found from paleoanthropology. And I think, the STW 431, if that's considered Prometheus, I don't know, but that came out of the same cave system, or the STW stands for the Sterkfontein cave system. So, and I'm pretty sure that the STS also is from that site. So I'd like to see the other skull that they have that they've yet to exhume from the brachia, or the matrix that surrounds these fossils at Sterkfontein. And like I said before, if we could see the actual arcade of the skull, the maxillary arcade, which would be a picture quite like this, but it would be of the STW 573 skull. So I can't find this. And what I'm thinking is, when they took that mandible off, they saw something a lot like this. Because that one shot that you got watching this video, where was that angle? Oh, and there's the gate on the cave. Okay, so they really do have this thing gated off. I was telling you about that.
Yeah.
Like, they won't let anyone in there to disturb these.
Dating of the specimen. Listen to this. Dating of the specimen has proven controversial, with estimates ranging from 2.2 to 3.5 million years old, and its taxonomic placement is likewise disputed. So there you go. So they're arguing with each other. It's not just us creationists having a go at it.
Oh yeah, they've come out with the wrong date for this find, and that's the thing, because they've got human evolution saying our ancestors at like 3.2 were these Afarensis. So where does Prometheus fit in exactly? And you have Gutsick Gibbon here on YouTube trying to claim that Prometheus is actually Africanus and giving it a totally different designation than the founders themselves. You know, so yeah, these paleoanthropologists don't all agree. That's for sure.
Yeah.
They argue a difference of over 1 million years, 2.2 to 3.5 million years. That's a huge range. And the reason that is because of the dating methods that we have, these radiocarbon dating
Oh,
methods. They don't work very
this is
well,
interesting.
you know, to begin with, and especially on things of that age, and then especially on flowstone members, like the deposits that these so-called Prometheus discoveries were found in. Okay.
This is interesting. This here, the location where the remains of Littlefoot are being excavated. 4 ankle bones of this specimen were collected in 1980, but were identified among numerous other mammal bones. So in 1980, and only after 1992, an initiative by Philip Tobias, a large rock was blown up in the cave that contained an unusual accumulation of fossils. The fossils recovered were taken from the cave and scrutinized thoroughly by paleontologist Ronald J. Clark. In 1994, while searching through the museum boxes labeled Cephopithecus, whatever the hell that is, I can't pronounce it, containing fossil fragments, Ron J. Clark identified several that were unmistakably hominin. He spotted 4 left foot bones, the talus navicula, medical cuneiform, and first metatarsal. Oh yeah, so that's the metatarsal. Okay, the one that they imagine stuck out in like an opposable big toe. That were most likely from the same individual. These fragments came from the Stilsberg Grotto, a large cavern within. Anyway, so there you go. So they just admitted that it came in with many other mammal bones. And when you look at that thing, it just looks like a conglomeration of a lot of rubbish to me. And that's the same
Yeah.
skull, basically. And there you go. There's those holes at either side of the canine there.
And
Right
again,
there.
even from this view, like this diagonal view or whatever, you can see just how ape-like the jaws are. Like it's
Yeah.
definitely the U-shaped arcade, not the V-shaped human arcade, you know?
Let me see. Can you see this if I bring this up? Hang on. Can you see that? Is that showing up? I hope it is. No, it's not. Is that showing
I
up?
don't see anything yet.
No, that overlay there.
No,
No. Okay.
not from my
Okay.
view at least.
Let me see if I can find pictures. Here we go. Let me see if I can find that. It'll be. Oh. Okay. And that's. No, not there. Here we go. Maybe it's in here. I'm trying to find that. Oh, there it is. There it is.
Sure.
Let me see if I can share that out. I don't think I can share that out. Let me see if I can share that screenshot out. It'll be interesting if I can. I hope I can.
Sure.
No. No, I can't. Unfortunately, I have to put it in as an overlay. I suppose I could just do that quickly. But it doesn't. I mean, we've got plenty of time, so what's the anyway?
Well, I added the link to join the StreamYard studio in the chat. So if anyone would like to join the open mic, discuss what we've talked about already, or talk about another topic, you can join up. What else did we talk about, Jason? I don't know.
I'm just going through and seeing if I can find that. There it is. I have that one. and that one. Oh, hang on, I'll add that one first.
All right.
All right, and then I'll add this one. I'll add both of them. I've got them here.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, this is supposed to be the bottom of an afarensis. In fact, this is supposed to be the Lucy skull, but this is fully imagined. In fact, the maxilla
quickly,
that they use
well,
for this.
well,
Oh, that works.
got it.
All right. Hang on. Let me get that. Get rid of that.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's all right. It's all right.
Good
Leave
shot.
that.
Look at that shot. All right. Let me count the teeth. 1, 2, 3. And number 3 would be the canine. So 1, 2, 3. And then there's the space that he talked about, right?
Yeah.
I just don't
This
see
one.
that now because now I see a tooth that's kind of pushed in. But
Oh, I should have got a screenshot of that. Oh well. Yeah, that's just the I don't know. To me, that tooth back there is, but in front of that would be the canine, right? I don't know. It's just, to me, it just seems like it's very suspicious. Look at the whole thing; it's all being put together. It's all plaster of Paris and stuff like that. You can see
yeah,
it. Look at it. Plaster of Paris to the hilt.
that is a great shot, though. I gotta say, because I'm trying to get the shape of the whole thing and the maxilla, you know, or the top jaw. So you can see from this photo that it is more of a U shape than would be the V shape for human. And that's how you could tell that this is definitely not transitional, because it would be on its way to being more of a V-shaped arcade rather than looking so gorilla-like, which is what
Yeah,
it
and the way
looks
the
like.
bottom, the jaw juts out there as well. So that's pretty.
Yeah, I mean, and again, pointing out that the angle of the mandible here, okay, so that lower angle matches the gorilla.
Yeah.
Okay, it does not match the human or the chimpanzee. Again, what is that? All right. And yeah, so it does not match the human or the chimpanzee.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. I get that out of the way.
That's all right. No, you just had that picture up of the chimp skull. That chimp skull picture. Or the other one. I don't know.
It is like, yeah, the chimp is like, that angle is so open. I think that's the most open one in this and of these 4.
If those canines were broken off on that chimp, it'd look just like the little foot, like similar. You know what I mean? It's just an ape, basically 8 canines that are broken off.
Sure. And it's like, where are the canines on this juvenile gorilla? You know. Well, they're still up within the maxilla because they haven't been extended yet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, depending on its eating habits and stuff, is gonna be how fast those canines and the other teeth actually break down. You know.
Yeah.
So
you can't trust fossils that have been glued together with epoxy, and then like, man, and then plaster of Paris. You can see there's plaster of Paris in that. You can see, like here, you can see clear as day. There's plaster of Paris in that everywhere, and epoxy, and all glued together and broken apart and put back together. Just a total fairy tale.
Yeah, what you see here looks like they've used some plaster, filled a bunch of cracks, sanded it down, used some more plaster, sanded it down again. This is art. This is not a scientific discovery. This is manufactured. No. So
yeah, clear as day.
And it was manufactured from what my best guess would be as a gorilla skull, because of the angle of the mandible and other obvious reasons.
Yeah. Who knows? The way that they've reshaped this, who knows what they've added into it? Could have been more human-like, and they've chipped it all away and made it. Who knows? You wouldn't know what they've done with the bloody thing. I want to see the fossils. I want to see the jaws that came out of the rock. Is what
I do
want to
too.
see.
Yes. That's the only way you're gonna be able to tell anything. Like, I mean, you get these after these guys have manufactured them, and it's just completely different. Especially that pelvis we were looking at earlier, or was the clavicle? Either way, it looked like a jigsaw puzzle. And as you pointed out, the colors were completely different throughout. So it's like, were these pieces even pulled out of the same sediment layers, or wherever? I mean, the same flowstone layers, in this cave.
I mean, that's even partially reconstructed piece there.
Sure.
That bottom jaw, that's not even like as they pulled it out of the rock. I want to see it as they pulled it out of the rock. Is what I want to see. They wouldn't show that though, because if they showed that, you'd be able to, really pick it apart. Then, just give us the plaster of Paris, epoxy Dremeled artistic version.
Well, it makes little sense, and I'll say it again, that they have such gorilla-like features on what would be their transitional claim or the missing link claim. Their most complete missing link claim is a claim transitional that's more gorilla-like. When you have, in the human evolution narrative, us coming from chimpanzee ancestors, so our ancestors are supposed to be common with the modern chimpanzee, are supposed to be very chimpanzee-like, not gorilla-like. So this isn't the kind of evidence that they need in the first place. And the fact that they're going to grasp for this when it's not even something that really goes along with their phylogenetic tree, because here you have the different lines or different branches going up. You have the gorillini, so that's the gorilla in the pink, and the purple is the chimpanzee, and then the royal blue going up to the light blue or sky blue is supposed to be our line, starting with Australopithecine, which is what we're looking at. But that line, conjoins with the purple, not with the red, not with gorilla. It's the purple and the royal blue are supposed to be connected. So the Australopithecine should look very ape-like, or very chimpanzee-like, or the pan line, because we're supposed to come out of the purple, not out of the pink. So the fact that they have...
My sound dropped out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, my sound dropped out. Yours didn't. Yours was fine. You're right.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, so the fact that they have this transitional, so it's the most complete Australopithecine claim, the fact that they have one that looks more like a gorilla is kind of hilarious, because it's like they found the wrong evidence. Or basically they manufactured the wrong evidence, which shows how bad off they are.
Gorilla. Gorilla. Deformed gorilla jaw. Deformed, reshaped.
Reshaped gorilla jaw.
Epoxy, plastered,
it broke
Dremel,
off in two
sanded.
or three different places. For sure.
Yeah. Just a gorilla jaw that got all deformed and then put back together by these guys with their imaginations.
And it probably got broken apart when they ripped it off of the skull that it was fused to.
Yeah.
And then they used putty or epoxy or whatever to fill it in. Plaster of Paris. Who knows?
Yeah.
A couple spray paint jobs and you're done. And that's that. And then you have something you can show the press, right, Jason?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they should have to, by law, show the they shouldn't be allowed to show these reconstructions. They should have to show, if they're going to show this reconstruction and make up a story that kids are going to learn about as science in science textbooks, they should have to, by law, show the original find next to it. They should have to have that picture of that, and on the same page, or right next to it, or on the same page, have a picture of the original find, so people can make up their own minds. But they don't do that, and that is really a shame.
It really is. I mean, they could have science here, but that would require them to not have anything to present as a missing link, because the missing link is still missing at this point. So I would say, you know, paleoanthropology, maybe not. So paleoanthropology, if it was being true to itself, would not even try and present these as actual evidence, because this is some poor evidence. When you have almost 100 years of research going out trying to find this missing link, and the best you have are these 7 partial skeletons. And I gotta say, you know, when you're coming up that short on evidence, you gotta go back and ask yourself, do we have the right theory? Could our theory be incorrect? Looking almost 100 years for this missing link, this transitional form between humans and mankind, and coming up so short, and with evidence that doesn't even make sense to the human evolution theory. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
All right.
What is it? Oh, thanks.
No, I'm gonna get my dog out.
Oh, okay, brother. Yeah, I'll just go into this. So Clarke was talking about how it was the most complete skeleton or complete Australopithecine claim coming out of South Africa, because most of it occurred in East Africa. Now, if I had a better picture of Africa, that'd be the thing to have. I don't know if I have that right now. And so, oh yes, I do. Here we go. We'll zoom in. Yeah. Okay. So the Serpentine cave system, I don't think is really on here, but that would be more down in South Africa. Whereas Hadar, up here near Ethiopia, Hadar is where Lucy was discovered. And Lucy was discovered in that little bay, okay, in the Gulf of Aden, near the Gulf of Aden, in the triangle, the Afar Triangle there, which, as you can see, is a basin, or the outlet of a river system into the Gulf of Aden. And near Yemen, we're in Yemen right now, aren't we? I think something. Our military is in Yemen. I don't know. So, yeah, that's what I mean. So, we have this river system coming out of what would be the central part of Africa, or even the Congo, and you have this river system washing fossils over time into the Afar Triangle, and that's where all the animals that are dying upon the river, that are being preserved, get washed to. So Lucy, those remains that were on the side of the hill there in the Afar region where Lucy was discovered, it could have come from anywhere on this river system. The chances that unarticulated box of fossils came from the same animal when it was drawn from thousands of miles of river system is pretty unlikely. So that's something that Lucy has going against it, because the finds were surface finds. When they discovered Lucy, they just basically drug the gravel off the side of this hill, collected into bales, spread it out across these long sheets of cloth, and picked through it to find every single hominid fossil they could. So it's not a case where they discovered Lucy in a 5x5 area, okay, or a 5x5 foot area. where you might expect if something had died, you know, and not been scattered abroad. Some good kind of evidence, something that would be found as a whole, like a whole skeleton in one place. That's what we're looking for as far as evidence, but we're not getting that yet. And when you look at the Littlefoot discovery that we discussed earlier tonight, here's a discovery where part of it was found outside of the cave system, you know, in a pile of rocks. And the best they can say is that it was found in the same cave system. But what we'd be hoping for is it would be all found in the same cave, you know, together, like it was the same individual. As you might expect if something were to die there. If there was nothing in the cave to tamper with it, then why were the legs found on a lower shelf? You know, they were found split apart. So here's a I don't know, topographical map, I think that's what they're called. And you can see again the river system, I think, or maybe this is just like how the mountainous areas are around the system. But my point is you have these river systems leading to Ethiopia and then to Hadar, and these fossils could be sourced from anywhere along the river. Okay. I'd say that puts a pretty good, yeah, that throws Lucy into jeopardy on its own. So, and you know, like other paleoanthropologists, people that study paleoanthropology, they don't even, like, paleoanthropologists don't all agree. Like, they're not one hive mind, like they're presented by Gutsick Gibbon on YouTube. Like, oh, we all believe the same thing about paleoanthropology, and that human evolution is like this, and everyone agrees, and it's all one set science. It's not that way. You have paleoanthropologists that disagree, that don't even believe that Australopithecine were related to humans. You know, you have Louis Leakey saying that, or you have in Johansson's book here, Johansson's book, thinking back on Louis Leakey, how he found them fascinating. He was fascinated with the Homo group, okay, and the Australopithecines, he insisted, while they were interesting, were not humans. More, they were not ancestors. So he didn't really believe the human evolution narrative that was put forth by, you know, say YouTube human evolutionists, YouTube paleo people. They're not necessarily paleoanthropologists either. So here you have an actual paleoanthropologist. He didn't even believe that Peking man and Neanderthal man were ancestors to man either. Okay, it's as if in Leakey's mind there stretched a straight line that went back from Homo sapiens to an ever cruder but always recognizably sapient forebear, and he was determined to find him. Which, when you think about it, if you believe the Bible, that's sort of what you'd be looking for as a paleoanthropologist, is proving that there was more ancient mankind along with all the other animals. So it's interesting that Leakey went that route. And he was like the granddaddy to all the Leakeys. And, you know, of course, the Leakey Foundation is the biggest foundation for paleoanthropological research in the world right now, I'm pretty sure. So. Are you back, Jason?
Yep.
All right. Good to hear it.
Yep. Yep.
So what's new in Australia? Anything happening down under?
Just that they gave a native title claim over suburban areas to Aboriginal people.
Oh, that's interesting. So they're taking back land that...
Yeah. Well, they give it, like, it's suburban areas. They have native title claims. So what that means is any parks or anything within those suburban areas now, and the question is, do you really own your own home? And second of all, can they say that you're not allowed to plant this plant in your yard because it's against their culture in that area or something like that, they can charge you for camping massive fees for camping in their parks and even for using a park, they can charge you a fee and stuff like that. So yeah,
Huh.
so it's pretty evil when the government gives away, in my opinion, then the government gives away land.
Yeah, it
Or
sounds like
gives
it.
natal title, so they've got some sort of determination over what happens with that land to say in it now. And how can they have determination? Just let me get rid of those keys. How can they have determination over, suburban areas, private housing?
Yeah, and just change the ownership all of a sudden. Is that
No,
what's
it's not the
going on?
ownership. They don't own it, but they've got like what they can do is they can have more of a say on how the land's used now, a big say in it. So if
Huh.
they could say anything, right? And basically, and what they've done in other places is where camping used to be owned. It used to be like, say, state forest, right, or national park or state forest owned by the government. And then what they did is they gave native title back to the native title people, the Aboriginals, and they went. What was it? They gave the native. Oh, I can't remember the train of thought that I was on. I lost it. Sorry. Too busy trying to do other things at the same time that I'm talking. I should concentrate on what I'm doing.
It's all good. What do you got going on over there, man?
Oh yeah, the native title. So like they basically can say now in other places where it used to be free camping, they're charging like hundreds of dollars a year for people to have their shacks on that land now and camp and stuff like that because it's Aboriginal land, whereas before it didn't cost them bugger all or virtually nothing from the government. And so that's what's going to happen. They could, not that they necessarily will, but they could charge people for even using a park, any park.
Huh.
Or you'd have to pay some sort of park fee and get a permit to be able to use all the parks every year or something to the Aboriginal Council or something like that. Yeah,
So they have
that's
like
what
their
they can
own
do.
nation then, like
Within a
you know.
nation, sort of like a
Huh.
shadow country.
Sure. Well, that's like a lot what we've got here in Western New York with the Native Americans.
Yeah,
So,
but it's worse because they don't give native title claims over in America over suburban areas, as far as I know. Do they? Have they? Maybe they have. I can't remember anything like that, but again, I haven't looked, so it might be.
I don't know. Not that
They're
I haven't
5,000.
really looked into it myself, honestly. So
How can you give native people native title over private land areas? It's just crazy. So they
yeah.
could literally
Well,
start
that
charging
really,
people
like you
fees
said, that proves the government owns the land. You know what I mean? Because they can say whoever they want.
if they
They have the
really
right
wanted
to.
to. They could start charging an extra fee for them being having a house on their land.
Sure.
So, I mean, technically they could. Not that they will, but that's not good
Things are changing. They're changing things up.
for the worse.
Yeah. Well, I know. I haven't been really watching
Oh,
the news lately. I've been kind of busy, but I saw
I
that
know
there
the
is
usual.
a hurricane again coming for the U.S. or whatever. They're headed our way.
Yeah.
And they named it Beryl or Beryl. Did you catch that?
Oh yeah, Barrel or
Yes.
Beryl.
Yep.
The name Beryl.
Is it a name too?
I
I
don't
know
know.
it's a gemstone,
Don't know.
so it makes sense that it'd be a name. Most gemstones are names. Too.
There's just a lot of stuff going on like that. It's not good, man. Giving away, letting people have determination over land that someone already privately owns. It's
Yeah.
just wrong, mate. Anyway. Of course, they'll have it all written in and all these so-called protections, and that will never be able to be done. And I'll never be able to charge people fees for their own private land, and they'll say all this sort of stuff. And somewhere down the track, they'll start complaining that they need extra money to develop this for the Aboriginal people, and we need to charge people fees for having their private land on our, over our native title claim sort of thing. Who knows what's going to happen in the future with that sort of thing. It shouldn't be brought in. Australian people voted against it, and they keep voting against these referendums and shooting them down, and yet the government just goes ahead and does it anyway. Sort of like stealthily. They're bringing in those laws that everyone voted against just recently in a referendum. Overwhelming majority of the population voted against it, and the state governments are just bringing in these laws anyway. Like it on a state level. So
Yeah, it doesn't sound very good.
Well, they just have a console since we were disarmed. When I remember years ago, I remember the stark contrast, because I remember years ago when everybody was armed, like in Australia, most Australians were heavily armed. The government would say we're bringing in a law, and then there'd be a big protest, and everyone would go up in arms about it. Basically, not actual firearms, but everybody would be up in arms sort of thing. And the government would back off and say, oh, this has become popular, we see it's unpopular, so we're not going to bring this law in. I've seen them actually back off from laws, and since they disarmed us, there was one time where they had 40,000 people protesting outside the state government in Victoria. They were bringing in an unpopular law, and there was 40,000 people protesting. It was extremely unpopular with the majority, and they just made us out to be like, they just bring in the law anyway. They say they're having a public consultation, and they have public consultations, and even if the majority of the public is against it, they just bring it in anyway, or they find a way to sneak it in, which is really, circumventing.
Well, you have a Bill of Rights, right, in Australia?
No, we don't.
Oh, well, what the hell?
We don't have a Bill of Rights. John Howard, one of our prime ministers, wanted to bring in a Bill of Rights for Australia, but
Wow.
we don't. We don't have free speech like in our constitution, like we do.
Well, it's time for an Australian revolution, then.
Yeah, well,
Shake it up.
that's why they disarm people. And what's happened is that lately now that they can get in and they can listen into people more with these devices everyone's carrying around with them, so they're starting to realise just how much people don't like them, and now they're disarming farmers in Western Australia. They're making it so they can only have 5 guns now. So you have to hand in, if you bought 100 guns over your life or got them handed down from grandfather to son, and or son, father to son, way back to your great grandfather or something, you have to hand all your guns in, only keep 5, and you have to hand the rest in.
Yeah, that's garbage.
Like,
especially if they're family
farmers,
heirlooms.
They're
like
farmers.
The government shouldn't mess with family heirlooms.
Oh, they definitely should not.
Well, they do here. They just take them and they don't give you what they're really worth. They don't give you, like, you could have a gun that's worth $100,000 and they're not going to give you 100 grand for it.
Yeah,
It's thieving. It's legalized stealing as far as I'm concerned. And they're taking these guns off farmers now.
Yeah.
If you're a farmer, you can only have 5 guns.
I had a friend that lost a bunch of guns.
it wasn't
they
me.
don't get them back. They don't get them back.
No,
They don't,
it's not you.
and often they don't get them back, or they don't get them all back. I know like stories
Oh,
of
you actually
people
know
that had
that.
lots of guns taken and they keep the real expensive ones, and they never seem to get them back. And that's just stealing, but they seem to get away with it. That's in America though, not Australia. See that all the time, but in Australia they just make laws to take the property. It's wrong, and farmers need lots of different guns for lots of different purposes. They don't, 5 guns just isn't enough. I mean, okay, so you got 5 guns, then what are they going to put a restriction on how many barrels you can have? Because a
Well,
barrel
yeah.
can only take
And that's the thing. It's like, what business is it of the government? How many guns you have?
Yeah, well, they
especially
are.
if they're hunting rifles.
This is the thing. All those guns are registered. All those guns have licenses, licensed and registered. And then they just made an arbitrary law just to take, we're just going to make it now that you can only have 5 guns and screw. We're going to give you this much compensation and that's it. For the people with cheap guns, it's going to be fine. But for the people with really expensive guns, they're going to lose out enormous amounts of money and big collections and stuff. They're just, anyway.
Well, in the States,
It's
they've
legally,
made so many laws about gun restrictions and gun laws,
Oh
gun
yeah.
rights that like most of us aren't even allowed to have a firearm
Yeah.
anymore.
Like I can't
Yeah.
have one, but
Yeah.
I can shoot one. It's so dumb.
yeah,
Because like
yeah.
I
You
have a
can go to a
mental
range.
illness. If you're diagnosed with certain mental illnesses, you're not allowed to own guns. Yet
Yeah.
you can shoot guns. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well,
Or
what the fuck?
any felony will take your gun rights now.
Oh,
You can't even go to a gun store, or they'll yell at you, basically
Yeah.
kick you out. So
I can go to
Oh
guns.
yeah, yeah. That's just wrong, man. Like in Australia, if you don't do crime for a long time and you're doing the right thing, then eventually you can get your gun license again. Whereas there, if you've got a felony, you've
your
gone
rights
forever.
grow back in Australia.
Yeah.
See, they've managed to make it so that a good
It's sort
percentage of the
weird.
population in the U.S. we can't even have a gun.
Yeah.
Well, it used to be when I was a kid, you could just I could just walk into a gun store and just buy any gun without any permit or any permission, any rounds, bullets, anything. And then it just slowly went up, gun registries and then, like now that they know where all the guns are in Western Australia, they're all registered and with the government. They know exactly who's got them and how many. So they, basically just, if you don't hand them in, you have to either say they were stolen or they actually were stolen or whatever, who knows. But that's the only way. They're just
Yeah.
bastards. I don't know, how dare they go in and take people's private stuff? And they're not doing it for our safety. Look what happened in Westfield Shopping Centre when that guy stabbed 5 people. What was it? 4 women and 1 man, or 3 women and 1 child and 1 man, or something. And
I
there
didn't
was
hear about
3,000. There was 3,000 people in that supermarket, and it was just one skinny, like speed freak weirdo, and he was just going off, and no one could stop him. And it's like, are you kidding me? In the old days, I used to walk around in 1986. I used to walk around with 2 iron bars in my backpack, just like about 2 foot long each, just sticking out the top of my backpack, so I could reach around and grab 2 foot long iron bars and pull them out. He would have, everyone used to walk around with knives and on their belts, big knives, and everyone was armed. A lot of people, even though handguns were banned since 1918, heaps of people used to carry sawn-off shotguns in their saddlebags on their motorbikes and all sorts of things. Back in the day, that there's no way that guy would have got away with what he got away with. He would have been stopped immediately. And now they've just look, 3,000 people can't even stop one guy. It's crazy. They had to wait for the police to
Yeah,
get
it's
there.
nuts.
That's insane. That's how, and another thing, the laws are so harsh here. If you do anything, most of those people are scared to go and do anything to that guy, even though he's stabbing and killing people. Because they're
Probably.
scared
Well,
if
yeah,
they do
that's the
something,
thing,
they
too.
might be
assault
charged.
charge.
Yeah.
The
You
state,
know.
the state will
No,
charge.
you wouldn't get that. You wouldn't, but like you actually wouldn't. But the thing is, they don't know that, most people. So if I saw someone stabbing someone, or women, I wouldn't give a shit. It's like they don't know that though. Most people
Yeah,
don't
but
have
most people think that way. They think that
Yeah,
they'll
that's
get
right,
an
because the
assault
laws
charge,
are
so
so
they're
harsh
not
in
going to
Australia.
stand up.
And you're
If you
definitely,
get caught
if
with
it's
a
the
butter knife,
States, you're going to jail that day. Or
if
at
you
least
get caught with a
holding
butter knife
someone to
in
figure it
Australia,
out.
you go to
Yeah.
prison. In New South Wales, and if you get caught with a butter knife in your car, butter knife, just a blunt butter knife to spread butter, and it's just got a rounded end on it. It's not sharp. It's blunt. You get caught with a butter knife in your car, you can go to prison.
What?
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
You see, like, this is why they banned videos of stabbing attacks and all that sort of stuff in Australia, because they've basically, pussified the entire population so badly that it's they're just terrified that if someone went off, we're just ripe for the picking. The way things are going at the moment, they've turned this country into a bunch of little
Mhm.
little sheep,
So they're-
little lambs.
Yeah, they're
the
grooming
slaughter.
everyone, to yeah.
Well,
That's
it's
what
happened
the
here,
government
mate. You
would
just
want.
see it
Well,
everywhere.
basically here, they're just taking our rights away, moving us towards martial law.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
they're trying to push us into a revolution, I think.
Yeah,
That
I
might
know.
That might be the plan. I don't know. Who knows?
No, but they're actually what they're doing.
want
What
a
I
one
noticed,
world
you know what they're doing?
revolution.
I'll tell you what they're doing. They're saying that in the future they're worried. The government at the moment is saying in the future they're worried about terrorist attacks on the electrical infrastructure, right? So,
Sure.
and they know that if a civil war ever broke out, that the Patriots, the first things they're going to go for is things like, substations and that to throw the cities into turmoil, right? And attack the substations. So if they brainwash the population into believing years earlier, just in case it ever does go off, that it's going to be terrorist attacks, then they can set the military after those people and just call them terrorists, right? So that's basically what I think is going on, because they know damn well that the first thing's going to happen is they're going to cut off all power and as much power and water and stuff to the big cities as they possibly can if anything ever broke out, which would throw the government into absolute turmoil. So they're setting it up in the people's minds to believe that it's going to be some sort of dark-eyed, dark-bearded, dark-skinned foreign terrorist.
Sure. Are they talking about a digital currency over there in Australia yet? Or?
Of course they are. Of course they are everywhere. It's not going to stop any crime.
For the
won't
country?
stop a single thing.
For the whole country, or just?
Yeah, they are. They're thinking about that. It won't stop crime either. How is it going to stop crime? Tell me. I want to know how a digital currency is going to stop crime. You can just start dealing in gold and silver coins. If you want to deal in real gold and real silver coins. If you want to deal in cash, there's always ways around. So what are they going to do? Make it illegal? They'd have to. They'd make it illegal for you to have a certain amount of gold on you and all that sort of stuff. Like it's not going to stop crime. The people always find ways around it. To go back to the barter system, it could actually increase crime, because if people can't get cash to get their drugs and do the things that they want to do, then they're going to start with a barter system. Oh, do you want like a television or a motorbike or something for this or that? And they're going to go out and steal more. There'll be more people stealing to order, way more. So it might actually put crime through the stratosphere. Yeah.
Well, their goal is to be able to control and monitor the population, and if they have a digital currency, they'll be able to do that. So, now here in the United States, we have the Bill of Rights, like we were saying. So we have rights to privacy. The government shouldn't be so far out in your pocket that they know everything you bought that day and where you walked.
One thing that makes me really angry, we've got a lot of immigrants here in Tasmania just walking into supermarkets and filling up shopping bags with thousands of dollars worth of vitamin pills and all different pills and just walking out, and the staff can't touch them, right? And what really makes me really, really angry about that is that those countries those people come from, they've got no excuse here to do that. They're getting given houses to live in, cars to drive around in, all their electrical appliances, food, money from the government. You know what I mean? And that's what makes me screaming mad, makes me want to just blood boil when I hear about those mongrels coming here and they say that they want to come here for a better life, and then they're just doing massive amounts of crime. And they are. And if you look at the official government statistics on crime, you can see that a lot of these immigrants that they're bringing over here are 10 times and 12 times more likely to commit certain offences and stuff like that. It's crazy. So, they come here and they get everything given to them. They come from a place where they're lucky if they get a mouthful of food a day, right? A handful of food a day. A lot of these people, some of these people. And then they come here and then they start doing crime. It makes me... I'm not going to say what I'd like to do to them, but...
Sure.
There's no excuse, man. They're getting everything. Everything. Public transport, cars, houses to live in, food, money from the government every fortnight, every 2 weeks. Anyway, what happened? It dropped out. Hello. I'll wait a little while. Anyway, so they are. So they're getting literally money from the government. They're getting everything from the government handed to them on a silver platter, and a lot of these people are doing crime. And it drives me nuts when I hear about these people coming from a place where they're lucky if they know that they'll even eat in one day, once, and then they come here and get everything handed to them, and then they just start doing crime. It makes them want to scream blue bloody murder. And we see it in Tasmania, because it went from I can still remember when Tasmania, and we've just seen the crime rates just go up and up and up and up and up. It's crazy. You don't see it in other parts of the country because it's been like it for so long, so many decades that you don't notice it, but here you do. Really sad. But all right, I suppose you're not coming back. These signs are you coming back or what? Hey, these signs. Well, couldn't hear you. You're breaking up a lot. Hey man, put a comment in the comment section. All right. Are you coming back or what? Or am I going to close it down? Hello. No. Okay. Doesn't look like it. Okay. See you later, everyone. God bless. Oh no, he's back. All right. I was just about to end it. And you pop back in just in time. Yeah. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, I'm back
You're
now
back.
though. My device overheated for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, what happens is
Emergency overheating.
I'll tell you what's happening there is when you're using these apps and browsers and stuff on StreamYards, they're constantly looking at your, like, for advertising data. They're looking at your GPS position, your phone orientation, like all how far your phone is from the ground elevation, all sorts of things. Whether you're looking at the screen or not. So sometimes, and then I used to have an app on my phone that showed all this, what they were scanning and looking for, and sometimes there was like 100 or 120 or 200 or 500 or 1,300 or 13,000 tries. One time there was like 13,000 or 14 or 15,000, tries where they're looking at basically while I'm watching Tubi or something like that. For their advertisers. So that can happen with your phone too. You just get descended upon with these mongrels trying to get data from your phone for advertising. Yeah, that can really mess your phone up.
And that'll heat your phone up, just like overworking the phone. I mean, connecting to the studio, and I was charging, and it hasn't overheated before, but usually I have it on a piece of glass to kind of heat sink it.
Yeah. Put it on a great big chunk of copper.
I just threw it on top of a bag of mixed vegetables.
Get
frozen mixed vegetables.
$10 million worth of gold, block of gold, and stick it on that. It'll sink it. No, copper works better.
Yeah, that
I'm a
great
fast
heat transfer.
thinker.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah. Both of you. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Okay. Well, I mean, I think we handled Littlefoot tonight. What else? Let's review.
Yeah.
I talked about Lucy a little bit.
Yeah.
We talked about the pelvis of the Littlefoot conglomeration, which is mangled.
Yeah, it's just if that's what they're showing the public, I'd love to see the condition of it. If they showed the condition of it before they put all that together, the way that they did, people would just go, "Get off it! Come on, it! That's." They really would. I'd love them to have to, by law, put it up, all the photos of all the fragments and stuff as they found it. Then photos of all the fragments.
Instead, you get Clark's polished up version of his find. He's got it all plastered up and sanded down and ready to show the press. Yep.
Dremelled.
But you
Yeah.
know,
Anyway,
what do you say to
What?
the evolutionist? What do you say to the evolutionist who's like, you know what? Even if Lucy's a fake, even if Littlefoot isn't what it's supposed to be, like there's still so much evidence for evolution from genetics. You
no,
know,
there's not. There's actually the opposite of evidence that the mutation rates today, they're too fast or too slow or whatever it is. I think they're too fast. And if you count back to the mutation rates, then you get back to when they first did it. They got back 6,500 years to the first woman, and then did it again a couple of years later with better data and better equipment, and got back 6,000 years to the first woman, and then spent 10 years doing mathematical equations, and basically fudged it till they got it back out to. What they said was, oh, the mutation rates in the past must have been slower, even though there's no evidence at all for this, none at all, just historical stuff that they make up, you know. And so that's how they got it back. So and it took them 10 years to work out the math on it and get it all right. And so it's all just manufactured. It's totally manufactured. There's none. The mutation, they have to literally make up imaginary mutation rates and say that the mutation rates of today, it must have been slower in the past, that where the mutation rates have sped up for today or something. They have to. If they don't, then they only the current mutation rates of today. When Parsons did it, you know, if you look back at his studies and other studies, gets back 6,500 years, 6,000 years to the first woman, which is just, you know, and they named it Eve as an insult. They literally called it Eve
and that's that mitochondrial Eve that he's talking about, right?
It was a mocking. And then when they did the mutation rates, they got back 6,500 years the first time to the first woman. They went, oh, hang on a second, and they looked really bad, and that's why they disappeared for 10 years, basing up all these theories and mathematical equations and getting their fairy tale fable right, you know, all set out correctly. Can you imagine it takes them 10 years to write it, to work out mutation rates and get their story set straight on that particular thing? And yet they say ancient goat herders could have written something so complex as the Bible.
Yeah. And like they have this constantly changing narrative, and every time it changed, they are like, well, that's how science is. It's like, that's not how science is. That's how theories are. If they stuck to what was known, like the actual body of knowledge wouldn't change. So
yeah, no, it's just the way they interpret it most of the time. Anyway, I want to get going, I suppose. There's nothing else I really want to talk about. How about you?
All right. Yeah, I think I'm all set. Close it up. So
all right, mate.
It was good talking at you, Jason.
Yeah, good talking at you. All right, guys.
See you next week, brother.
God bless everyone. See you later.
Jolene.
The whole two people that are watching. That's us.
Yep.
Me and you.
Yeah, pretty much.
See ya.